Welcome to the Fantasy Audiobook. I, Saiyan Prince, The Wind Rises Ultra Ego 3. Chapter 21. Boy, you have completely pissed me off. I've made up my mind. I'll destroy you no matter what I say today. Champa's eyes flickered fiercely, and he rushed towards Feng Yang quickly. Boom! Champa hit Feng Yang's chest with a heavy punch on the spot. Puff! Feng Yang spat out a mouthful of acidic water, and his body slid backwards. As expected of gods of destruction, the strength is quite fierce. Boom! Champa followed and kicked Feng Yang with an upside-down golden hook. Boom! Feng Yang fell into the ground in an instant, leaving a large crater on the ground. The crater is surrounded by smoke and dust. The faces of the audience changed again and again. Sure enough, this Lord Gods of Destruction has never shown his true strength. Is Gods of Destruction really invincible? Champa was suspended above the big pit, with a cold face and an indifferent smile. Frost breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, I didn't stand in line just now. Otherwise, you will almost be blinded by illusions. Lord Gods of Destruction is too strong. How could His Royal Highness be his opponent? Bodomo also rolled his eyes again and again, and at the same time he was very grateful. While others were cheering for His Royal Highness's bravery, I chose to remain silent. Whispering, gurgling, Megetta, however, spouted streams of black gas from his head, showing a face of indifference. Megetta, what's that sitting under your butt? Bodomo was taken aback and asked hastily. Goo. Megetta scratched her head, raised her buttocks and took a look. Isn't this our football? You almost burst the ball. Do you know how heavy you are? Bodama said. As soon as Megetta heard that it was the football, he became very angry at that time, pointing to the football and then to his own nose. After speaking, Megetta sat down on the football again. Bodimo, I saw with my own eyes that the football had been crushed and deformed. Maybe Hit is dead, being kicked like a ball for so long. Sitting under the ass by Megetta again. Megetta weighs 1,000 tons. Hit is useless. No, now is not the time to talk about Hit. His Royal Highness is probably going to die too. Very poor prince. It was just more than 2 hours of bravery. Then he was rubbed on the ground by gods of destruction. It's so sad. Call out. Feng Yang soared into the sky from the crater, flew into the air, and hovered directly opposite Champa. Hoo. Feng Yang gasped heavily, looking a little tired. It's not bad, you're amazing to be able to fly up after being hit hard by me. Champa smiled lightly, but compared to gods of destruction, you're still young. Really? The corners of Feng Yang's mouth rose slightly, forming a slight arc. According to the agreement just now, I will destroy you right now, so that you will never have any complaints. Champa snorted, and stretched out his hand to point at Feng Yang's body. In Champa's hand, the destructive energy condensed, and the purple light was shining, and it was possible to make a move at any time. On the contrary, Feng Yang's expression calmed down, with a demeanor of seeing death at home. We still lost, Ziyao said in a deep voice. Impossible. Feng Yang won't lose. Caulifla gritted her teeth. It's going to be destroyed. Tears rolled down the corners of Ziyao's eyes, but there's nothing we can do. Feng Yang. Caulifla burst into tears. Sister. Kale held Caulifla's hand tightly. Could it be that I can only watch here? Caulifla snorted coldly, gritting her teeth as if she had made up her mind. What do you want to do? Ziyao was taken aback. You can't even beat Hit, why do you think you have the ability to challenge gods of destruction? Caulifla trembled all over her body, staring up at Feng Yang high in the sky. The queen's complexion also changed again and again, and she felt more and more helpless. Queen, are Feng Yang and Ziyao together? The king suddenly turned his head and asked. Hey, what? The queen was taken aback for a moment, not understanding what the king meant by asking this question. Did I mean that the two of them were ever married? Asked the king. No. What do you want to do? Why ask such a question at this time? The queen wiped her sweat. If they are together, maybe Ziyao has a certain chance of becoming pregnant. The king sighed, then we can have a grandson, to inherit my throne. Your Majesty, what do you want to do? The queen's heart sank. Since what my son can't do, let me do it for him. The king smiled, it's just a pity. The throne has no one to inherit. Queen, in fact, you are more suitable to be the king of Saiyan. Your Majesty, you have to think twice. The queen held back her tears and said in a deep voice. Mr. King, what are you going to do? Vados was taken aback for a moment. I have already calculated that my son is a high-level Saiyan, and I am a Super Saiyan that is one level higher than a high-level one. According to this conclusion, my strength should not be much different from gods of destruction. The king showed a face. Confidence. Snapped. As he said that, the golden light bloomed on the king's body, and he had already turned into a Super Saiyan. Vado's eyes widened in shock. What kind of transformation is this? Your transformation is just a pure energy boost. It seems to have improved a lot. It is about 50 times your current level. But with your little energy, you want to fight gods of destruction. What are you thinking? I reckon Master Champa could blow you away with just one breath. Queen, take care. The king smiled, waved to the queen, and quickly flew into the air. Vados, who gave you confidence? Your Majesty. The queen burst out with energy, and she was about to rush forward to help. Snapped. Vados raised his hand lightly, blocking the queen's body. Ms. Queen, you better not go up and join in the fun. Vados persuaded. Get out of the way. The queen scolded. Above the sky. The Prince of Saiyan, right? Champa chuckled. Finally, I would like to praise you again. Your performance is outstanding. Without me, you should be number one in universe. Queen, did you hear me? I am number one in the universe. Don't forget what you promised me. Feng Yang immediately turned to look at the queen. Queen, it's all this time, what are you still thinking about? In a world that doesn't exist, be the number one in your universe. Champa snorted, the purple-red energy in his hands had already condensed. The king's face changed color and turned into a golden light, accelerating the speed of flight. Destroy. Champa let out a cold snort, and the destructive energy in his hand roared towards Feng Yang's position. Not good. It's too late. The king's expression became more and more serious, and he increased his speed to the extreme. The destructive energy is getting closer and closer to Feng Yang. When the destructive energy was about to hit Feng Yang, snapped. Feng Yang's body suddenly burst into a more intense purple-red light. Chila, Chila. A series of purple electric arcs wrapped around the whole body. Feng Yang's hair stood on end even more. The destructive energy is even more crazily emerging. The powerful divine power dyed the whole world purple. What? Champa's pupils shrank, and his complexion became unusually exciting. Boom! Feng Yang slapped fiercely, and the slap was on the flying destructive energy. Accompanied by a muffled sound, the destructive energy was distorted and deformed by Feng Yang's slap. Call out. The destructive energy flew back towards Champa's position at a high speed. Champa was taken aback. In desperation, Champa hurriedly dodged to the side, only to avoid the attack of destructive energy. Call out. The destructive energy soared 90,000 miles into the sky, flew out of the atmosphere in an instant, and disappeared into the universe space. You. Champa was stunned. I'm sorry, but I didn't show my real strength either. The corners of Feng Yang's mouth rose slightly, with a slight curve, revealing a mouthful of white teeth. Shua. At the moment Feng Yang's voice just fell, the king also turned into a golden light and appeared beside him. What's the situation? The king was a little confused. Father, why are you running here to join in the fun? Go back quickly. Feng Yang said to the king. Why do you suddenly have some lightning bolts on your body? Wang Qi asked strangely. Ah, this is the second advanced Saiyan. Feng Yang smiled. Senior Saiyan. 2. The king froze. Blonde. Champa glanced at the king and muttered. But soon Champa has little interest in the king. It's just an energy boost. Can't reach the level of divine power. Not to mention the power of the even more powerful gods of destruction. The most difficult thing to deal with now is his son. His son, why did his destructive energy increase again? Advanced Saiyan 2. The king was a little confused. Simply put, it is the second level of advancement towards Super Saiyan. Feng Yang explained. The king nodded thoughtfully. So, it's still not as good as my Super Saiyan. It's just that I can't feel the energy of you, a senior Saiyan. I can't judge your strength. Father, it's just dealing with a small gods of destruction, why do you need to take action? Feng Yang smiled. Father is watching from the side, watching how I hang and beat gods of destruction. The king was completely incompetent by Feng Yang. This kid can advance Saiyan too. Then, well, father will be watching you. The king hesitated for a moment, but finally nodded in agreement. Champa, you a king who radiates gold, you guard your son by your side. Don't you know that your son has reached the level of God? Champa didn't talk nonsense, and his expression became more and more dignified. At this moment, Champa clearly felt that the Prince of Saiyan was no less powerful than himself, gods of destruction. When did human beings cultivate to this level? Oh, it's amazing. Vados was also surprised. You mean your majesty? The princess asked. Vados. Are you talking about the prince? The princess asked again. Vados doesn't want to answer this mentally retarded question. Haven't you seen it yet? Actually, I felt something was wrong just now. The princess smiled bitterly. Why do I feel that the prince is stronger than his father? No, according to the inference from the text, super should be above advanced. Vados smiled. Princess. The princess had already suspected that her son was stronger than the king. As a result, after Vados said this, confusion began again. Advanced Saiyan 2, according to the text theory, should be infinitely close to Super Saiyan. Vados said with a smile. The princess was a little confused. Is Super Saiyan that strong? Vados suppressed a laugh, suffocating there. After seeing the prince's new transformation, everyone else was stunned again. His Royal Highness has transformed again. Advanced Saiyan 2. It is said to be the second stage of advancement towards Super Saiyan. What a shock. Sure enough, the legend of Super Saiyan's invincibility is true. I told you that Feng Yang will not lose to that big fat cat. Caulifla immediately regained her spirits, wiped away the tears from her eyes, and broke into a smile. The next moment, Caulifla fell from the sky. Ziyao also fell by Caulifla's side. Just now, two people wanted to rush forward to help. But the speed of the two is too slow after all. When the two flew halfway, the king turned into a golden light and rushed up. The two had no choice but to come back. His Majesty the King has already taken action, so it shouldn't be a big problem, right? After all, His Majesty the King is Super Saiyan. Slightly more powerful than Advanced Saiyan. Well, it should be like this. It seems that the prince has not changed much. Ziyao pondered. It's lightning. Did you see the lightning on his body? Caulifla said. It's just that there are some more lightning bolts. Is it the second Advanced Saiyan? Ziyao asked inexplicably. It doesn't matter if it's 2 or 3, as long as it can defeat that fat cat. Caulifla snorted. I'll always stand by Feng Yang's side. Ziyao didn't speak. Hey, do you really like Feng Yang? Caulifla asked suddenly. Ziyao was silent, and turned to look at Caulifla. If you don't want to say it, forget it. Caulifla smiled. I just want to be a princess, that's all. Ziyao whispered. Caulifla. There was another silence. Really? Caulifla asked with a smile. Ziyao fell silent. After seeing Feng Yang's change, everyone else also showed shock on their faces. His Royal Highness has transformed again. Advanced Saiyan 2. Do you still have such a transformation? Is this the second class to transform into Super Saiyan? It takes such a complicated procedure to become a Super Saiyan. Come on, fat cat. Feng Yang waved to Champa. Champa's expression became more and more serious and heavy. At this moment, Champa clearly felt that the Prince of Saiyan had surpassed himself in energy. Call out. Champa didn't say any more, turned into a streamer of light, and appeared directly above Feng Yang in an instant. Snapped. Champa waved his big hand downward, and divine power surged in his hand. Huge energy quickly covered Feng Yang's body. Boom. It's just that Feng Yang was faster, and when he raised his hands, a huge energy light wave shot up into the sky. The energy light wave shattered the divine power released by Champa at that time. Call out. The purple-red energy light wave roared straight to where Champa was. What? Champa's complexion changed again and again, and he dodged in a hurry, only then dodging the attack of the energy light wave in embarrassment. Shua. Feng Yang's figure flickered, and he appeared behind Champa in an instant. Boom. Feng Yang hit Champa in the back of the heart with a heavy punch. Ah! Champa screamed in pain, blood gushed out of his mouth, and he felt that he was not well. However, Champa's reaction speed is also extremely fast, and he quickly adjusted his body in the air. Hoo hoo hoo. Champa panted heavily, his face became more and more heavy, and a drop of cold sweat slipped down from his face. The next moment, Champa wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth with his hands, the veins on his forehead popped out, and his angry face appeared. The audience present were all stunned. The majestic gods of destruction was finally bleeding. We thought gods of destruction was bloodless. King. Suddenly, I felt that their battle was so fierce that the energy released by the battle made my face hurt. I'd better stand far away. The king quickly flew to the queen's side. Vados was near the queen, and when he saw the king coming back, he glanced at him. You should realize something by now, right? Come again, Feng Yang said with a slight smile, looking at Champa. HMPH, kid, don't be complacent. Champa gritted his teeth. Hurry up and use your full strength, or you will be ashamed if you are defeated later. Feng Yang looked at Champa with a smile. Champa knew that what Feng Yang said was true. If he continued to be so careless, he might really lose to this kid. Snapped. Champa let out a cold snort, gradually releasing layers of purple-red light from his body. Oh, it looks like Lord Champa is going to be in a tough fight. Vados sighed. The queen immediately turned to look at Vados. The king also stared at Vados for a moment, and then immediately looked up into the sky. Strange. Why does it feel like the color of my son's energy is similar to that of Lord Gods of Destruction? The queen muttered. The king fell silent. I figured this out a long time ago. Vados pretended not to hear. Take your time to understand this kind of thing. If you think Super Saiyan is better, that's your business. It wasn't just the king and queen who saw that Feng Yang's energy color was similar to Champa's. As long as the eyes are not blind, those present can basically see it. It's just that everyone can't feel the breath of God, and it's impossible to judge who is stronger. We can only see who beats who to the ground in the end. Sister, why are His Royal Highness the same color as gods of destruction? Kale asked curiously. It's just the same color, nothing to be surprised about. Caulifla waved her fingers and said with a smile, color doesn't mean anything, just like the energy we usually release, it's basically blue or golden, although the color different but similar in power. Sister, I understand. Kale nodded seriously. Ziyao. The color is really different, is the power about the same? Are you serious? I never thought His Royal Highness would become like this, Senior Saiyan 2. Bodama sighed. Cuckoo, Chi-Chi, Vegeta replied. As for what to say, Bertamo couldn't understand anyway. It's amazing. Frost smiled unnaturally. Unexpectedly, the Saiyan clan has become so powerful. Can be tough with gods of destruction. However, Lord Champa doesn't seem to be serious about it. Bodama said. Now it's time for the real thing, Frost replied. Looking at Champa again, the whole body is shimmering with purple-red light. Purple-red flames also shone from Feng Yang's body, and there were streaks of purple lightning around these flames. Call out. The two rushed towards each other quickly. Bang bang bang. In the next moment, Feng Yang and Champa had a fierce confrontation in the air. The speed of the two became faster and faster, turning into streamers of purple-red. And after a few rounds of fighting, shish, Feng Yang and Champa rushed into the sky, passed through the atmosphere, and appeared in the outer atmosphere of planet Shadara. The two speeded up the battle again. What? I can't even see it. The king was stunned and rubbed his eyes vigorously. Vados, isn't it normal for you not to see? It was a battle between gods and gods. Of course you, a human being, can't see it. Boom. There was a loud bang suddenly from the outer air layer, and the huge sound and shock wave covered the air from the air at that time. Snapped. Vados raised his hand lightly, and waved the scepter in his hand at the covering shock wave. These shock waves disappeared immediately. Phew, Vados sighed. If the fight continues like this, I am afraid that this planet will be lost. There may be cracks in universe too. After a short silence. Call out. Vados turned into a bright streamer of light, and quickly flew above the outer atmosphere. Bang, bang, bang. Feng Yang was grabbing Champa's collar and punching him in the face. Champa's face was swollen from the beating. Hey! Feng Yang yelled and kicked Champa hard on the back of the head. Call out. Champa fell from the air quickly like a nuclear bomb. Shua! Feng Yang's figure flickered, and he immediately appeared at the place where Champa fell. Boom! Feng Yang kicked a big kick at the falling Champa, and kicked Champa high into the air again. Vados! It seems that Lord Champa can't beat this prince. Moreover, the prince controlled the destructive energy very well, and the universe did not appear cracked because of it. Bang bang bang. Feng Yang followed up and punched and kicked Champa. Champa was able to return a punch or two at first. However, after resisting a few punches, Champa found that there was no effect at all, and panicked at that time. Why is this kid so fast? Why is the power still higher than mine? Boom. Champa's face was distorted again by Feng Yang's heavy punch. Puff. Champa spat out 3 teeth at that time, and blood spurted wildly. Snapped. Feng Yang grabbed Champa's collar, stretched out his hand and slapped him several times on the face. Champa's mouth was drawn crookedly. Ahem. His Royal Highness. Vados flew forward and coughed at Feng Yang. What's the matter? Feng Yang glanced at Vados and asked with a cold expression. Calm down, Vados asked. No, Feng Yang replied with one word. Boom. As he said that, Feng Yang made another uppercut, which directly hit Champa's chest. Puff. A big puddle of blood sprayed out of Champa's mouth again, and his face was as white as a sheet of paper. Snapped. The next moment, the purple-red light on Champa's body suddenly collapsed. Looking at Feng Yang again, it seems that there is still a lot of room for improvement. Bang bang bang. Feng Yang grabbed Champa and beat him up again. Champa's face was beaten into a bun. Vados was speechless. Boom. Feng Yang threw a golden hook upside down and kicked directly on Champa's body. Call out. Champa turned into a meteor and fell from the sky. Feng Yang swooped down and chased him from above. Someone fell. It seems to be gods of destruction. Has he already lost to His Royal Highness the Prince? Boom. Champa hit the mountain outside the palace. In just an instant, the entire mountain was razed to the ground. Everyone at the scene was more shocked than one. It's really gods of destruction. He was beaten down by His Royal Highness the Prince. His Royal Highness is so fierce. Is Advanced Saiyan 2 so strong? Everyone was stunned. Looking at the mountain that had become flat, endless shock appeared in their pupils. King, my back mountain. That's my back garden. It was destroyed just like that. The king sighed. Let's see how our son is doing first. Do you still care about your back garden at this time? The queen shouted angrily. My son is fine. Look, he has come down. The king pointed to the sky. Feng Yang flew down. Shua. Vado's figure flickered again, appearing beside Feng Yang. What are you doing? Feng Yang asked with a dark face. Are you going to stop me? I just wanted to ask, should you calm down too? Vados sighed. I'm quite popular, so it's not easy to calm down. Feng Yang said, look, this guy destroyed the back mountain of our house, and the hatred between me and him has grown. Vados. Ahem, isn't it you who beat him down, and destroyed the back mountain? Vados smiled wryly. It doesn't matter anymore, Feng Yang said, swooping down again. Vados sighed helplessly. The queen also immediately looked at the sky, and at her son who was emitting a purple-red light all over his body. And around these purple-red rays of light, there are still purple lightning entanglements. In addition, there was another person beside the sun. The woman who claimed to be a servant of the gods of destruction. Why did she follow the past to join in the fun? Did you win? Zi Yao muttered. Of course I won. Feng Yang can't lose to gods of destruction. Khalifa grinned. What did I just say? Just do it. Zi Yao didn't answer, but rolled her eyes. That's gods of destruction. Is this invincible myth about to be broken today? Frost was completely dumbfounded. Frost never imagined that Saiyan's prince would be so powerful. A prince is so powerful. Isn't Saiyan's king against the sky? After all, His Royal Highness also said that his is only the second level of high-level Saiyan. It's just a stage on the way to Super Saiyan evolution. Botomo secretly wiped his sweat from the side. Cuckoo, cuckoo. Megetta drank a large glass of magma, and pointed his thumb at Feng Yang in the distance. The 4 guards were completely dumbfounded. Your Highness is so strong. I really learned a lot today. Chunhua and Chushi blushed with embarrassment. The 2 little beauties looked at each other. The queen will reward us to His Highness the Prince. So, tonight, Chushi puffed out her chest again. Chunhua, I'm going to do my best too. For D, come on. Shua. Feng Yang fell from the sky and landed beside Champa. Champa staggered up from the ground, his face extremely ugly. Champa never expected to be planted in this place today. I would actually lose to a human. Champa gritted his teeth in hatred. Gods of destruction, can you fight again? Feng Yang smiled. Champa fell silent. Champa knew clearly that if he continued to fight, he would not be his opponent. It can only be self-defeating. If you don't speak, it means that we can continue to fight. Let's continue, Feng Yang said, rushing over again. Wait a minute. Champa trembled in fright, and waved his hands vigorously. Boom! Feng Yang punched Champa hard on the face. Champa was knocked to the ground again. Get up! Feng Yang shouted. Did you fall to the ground in such a state of embarrassment as gods of destruction? In Champa's heart, 10,000 grass mud horses passed by. What the hell are you? Am I being trained by you as a dog? Let me ask you again, can you fight again? Feng Yang shouted. I. Champa looked unwilling. So, we can fight again. Feng Yang smiled lightly, stretched out his hand, and aimed at Champa's body through the air. You wanted to destroy me before, right? Then I'll treat you like a human being his body. As he said that, a purple-red destructive energy condensed in Feng Yang's hands. Wait a minute. Champa was in a hurry, his face changed again and again, and he hurriedly shouted, I admit defeat, I surrender. Speak louder, I can't hear you. Feng Yang said. I'm sorry, I admit defeat. Champa gritted his teeth, increased the volume, and shouted loudly. Vados shook his head and sighed. Master Champa was really hurt this time. After so many years, Lord Champa has no rivals. This time the loss was really bad enough. It is also rare that Master Champa will admit defeat and surrender. Yes, you have successfully completed one of the 3 problems I mentioned. Feng Yang slowly withdrew his destructive energy, and smiled. Now, let's immediately complete the second one, to restore my palace. Quote. Champa clenched his fists tightly, bared his teeth bitterly, and his eyes were filled with endless unwillingness. I, the mighty gods of destruction, have already apologized to you. What else do you want? Don't you know that you can accept it when you see it? Boom! Feng Yang kicked Champa directly in the face with a flamboyant flying kick. Champa's face became deformed at that time. You still dare to bark your teeth at me? Feng Yang snorted. Champa dared not speak out, and energy was secretly condensed in his hands. Are you trying to destroy this planet? Feng Yang smiled lightly. You try to destroy it. If you dare to destroy planet Shadara, I will destroy you. Even if I am against all the gods of destruction, I'm not afraid either. Champa shivered for a moment, his face changed again and again, and he quickly changed into a smiling face. I'll help you restore the palace right now. Champa turned to look at Vados, and ordered, well, Vados, restore her palace. Okay, Master Champa. Vados nodded slightly, and was about to go forward to repair Feng Yang's palace. Boom! Feng Yang slapped Champa to the ground. Vados stopped right then and there. Champa also showed confusion and resentment on his face. Just wait for me, boy, I will call back one day. The main reason is that I have not practiced for a long time. When I go back and practice hard, I will come back to clean you up. What's wrong? Champa asked with a cold face. Don't make a mistake, I asked you to restore the palace, not her. Feng Yang said, it's amazing to order women to work casually, isn't it? Champa, and, starting from today, you, the maid, are mine. Do you have any objections? Feng Yang pointed to Vados and said to Champa. Vados wiped his sweat silently. I became a maid. You are so interesting. Champa froze for a moment, then turned to look at Vados. As long as she has no objection, I have no objection. Champa was secretly happy. You actually took her for a maid. Humans really don't know it yet. If you knew her true identity, would you still say that? Okay, then it's such a happy decision. Feng Yang nodded in satisfaction, and shouted at Champa, why are you still here in a daze? Why don't you repair the palace for me? Call out. Champa immediately flew up and landed near the palace. Snapped. Champa grabbed some broken stones from the palace, kneaded them together, assembled them into a large stone block, and repaired the ruined palace step by step. All the people present stared wider than the other. Is gods of destruction beaten? How dare you rush to repair the king's palace for someone? I really learned a lot today. We would never believe it if we hadn't seen it with our own eyes. The dignified gods of destruction not only apologized and surrendered to His Royal Highness, but also repaired the palace he destroyed before. And looking at this project, it seems quite big. According to his repair method, it would take 3 to 5 days to complete the work. Many people present were speechless. Mainly because it was too shocking. Am I not mistaken? Did he really defeat gods of destruction? Bodemo murmured. That's right. His Royal Highness is simply extraordinary. Frost smiled bitterly. Times have changed. I'm afraid it will be Saiyan's world in the future. Padama sighed. Frost fell silent, even hesitating whether to surrender immediately. It seems to be a good choice to bow down to Saiyan. Also, this guy is stronger than gods of destruction. GGU Kai GU. Maggot gulped down the magma and danced happily. What did he say? Asked Padama. He said, I'm really happy today. Frost said. Vegeta, I have said so many words, but you only translated 5 words. Shua. Caulifla immediately flew up and fell into Feng Yang's arms. Feng Yang, you're crazy. Feng Yang, I knew you would win. Sure enough, my guess was correct. Caulifla grinned. Zi Yao, shit, I am one step too late. Let this shameless woman take the lead. After seeing this scene, the queen also showed a helpless face. The king was secretly laughing. This is a good start. The queen finally turned a blind eye to the matter of Feng Yang donating several princesses. So, it's almost my turn. The king was agitated for a moment. Queen, let's discuss something. The king leaned forward and whispered. Shut up, can I not know what you want to say? The queen rolled her eyes. I haven't said it yet. The king felt a little aggrieved. If you also want to donate a few princesses, as long as you defeat gods of destruction with your own hands, I have absolutely no objection. The queen snorted. King, oops, I can't hide it anymore. Son, you just acted too aggressively. My Super Saiyan is not enough. Are you being suspected by the queen now? Do you really think that my son said that it is a high-level Saiyan, which is a transformation of a lower level of Super Saiyan, and I believe it? The queen curled her lips. You father and son let me play. I can't sense it, but can I not know who is strong and who is weak? The king hung his head. Made a mistake. I can't ask for a concubine now. But I don't know if others have noticed it. The queen pondered. I think I can spare time to let my son have a simple fight with you, and let him lose to you in front of everyone so that no one can claim your throne. It can be shaken. The king wiped his sweat. You are still ruthless. But this method is also good. I'm afraid that anyone who dares to disturb the peace of Shadara will be frightened to death just by hearing the title of Super Saiyan. After all, high-level Saiyan beat gods of destruction. Ahem, we'll talk about this later, the king sighed. Shua, Vados fell by Champa's side. Oh, Master Champa has stumbled this time, right? Vados said with a smile. You're still laughing. Didn't you see that I was beaten? You didn't come up to help. Champa yelled with a dark face. Ho ho, our angels are not allowed to participate in battles except for training, Master Champa knows. Vados smiled. Then quickly help me restore this kid's palace. Champa said. This prince is quite narrow-minded. If he sees it, he might overthrow it and start over. Vados lowered his voice and said, let me tell you, Mr. Champa should honestly repair the palace. Champa showed a sad reminder on his face. According to Master Champa's repair speed, I feel that the palace should be repaired in 4 days. Vados pondered. Shut up, Champa yelled with a dark face. By the way, will the match between Lord Champa and Lord Beerus continue? Vados asked. Champa was taken aback. If you don't tell me, I'll forget what I'm here for. Has Master Champa forgotten? Vados asked with a smile. Of course, let this kid play. Champa held his chin on a whim and said, let him win our universe for me first, and then, with this kid's personality, it will definitely be very difficult at that time. Arrogant. Then, maybe that Beerus guy will beat him up. Then I don't have to do anything, and I can kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Champa thought this way, because he was happy, the stone brick in his hand was crushed by him at that time. Champa was startled, and quickly looked in Feng Yang's direction cautiously. Sure enough, Feng Yang also looked at Champa from a distance, his eyes narrowed slightly, and his eyes were a bit unfriendly. Champa shivered. I didn't do it on purpose. I was just careless just now. Champa waved at Feng Yang and said apologetically. Feng Yang stopped talking to Champa. Everyone present pricked up their ears. The majestic gods of destruction has actually become like this. This is really rare. How about Vados? My proposal is good. Champa thought he was too smart. Let this kid win the game for our 6th universe first. After the game is over, with this kid's character and Beerus' violent temper, isn't it all right? Maybe these two guys started fighting without me fanning the flames. That guy Beerus sleeps all day, but his talent is better than mine. I think Beerus is more than enough for this kid. Tell Beerus to give the kid a hard time and get out of my way. When the time is right, I'll come up and make up for it again, to avenge my shame. Champa thinks this method is really good. Am I smart? Hee hee hee. Champa smiled brighter and brighter. What are you laughing at? Feng Yang appeared instantly, squinting at Champa. Champa's smile gradually froze. It's nothing. Vados was telling me a joke, and I couldn't help laughing for a moment. Champa explained hastily. Really? Feng Yang stared at Vados with a smile. Vados looked calm and did not speak. What joke are you talking about? My maid. Feng Yang smiled. Vados. Champa, you really call her a maid? This ignorant human being. Vados covered his forehead, held the black line on his face, and wiped his sweat quietly. Do you really treat me like a maid? Nothing, just a common joke. Vados replied. Go ahead. Feng Yang left immediately after finishing speaking. PFF'd. Vados, you're really a maid, so much fun. Champa laughed. Master Champa's schadenfreude is no fun at all. Vados rolled his eyes. Hey, do you think Grand Priest will beat him to death if he finds out about this? Champa looked up to the sky expectantly, staring at the Xeno temple in the distant area. Although nothing can be seen. Vados sighed helplessly and didn't answer any more. Vados, tell me quickly, how about my proposal just now? Champa asked after fantasizing for a moment, returning to reality immediately. If I had to say it, I don't think His Royal Highness would agree to participate in this kind of competition. Vados shook his head. I will leave this matter to you. This is my order. Champa snorted and continued to move bricks. Oh, what did I say? I told Master Champa to be friendly, but Master Champa just didn't listen. Vados sighed, shrugged. Well, I can only try. If he doesn't agree, I can't help it. By the way, did Hit find it? Champa stacked the moved stone bricks together. Not yet, I just watched you fight. Vados grinned. The other side. After Feng Yang left Champa, he had already returned to normal. Feng Yang couldn't get enough of the battle just now. Champa is so powerful, and it is unknown how powerful the strongest gods of destruction Beerus will be. To find an opportunity, you have to find Beerus to learn from each other. Many people at the scene looked at Feng Yang without blinking. This battle of His Royal Highness will be recorded in the annals of history. The myth of gods of destruction being undefeated is a joke. Gods of destruction, nothing more. Shua. Vados appeared beside Feng Yang. Is there something wrong, maid? Feng Yang asked. Vados, can you change your name? The thing is like this. We have an agreement with the 7th universe to have a team battle game. I would like to invite His Royal Highness to participate in this game. Vados made the invitation with a smile. Is this the meaning of gods of destruction, Champa? Feng Yang smiled. Oh my goodness, you figured it out so quickly. Vados nodded in acknowledgement. Let him come and beg me. If I'm in a good mood, maybe I will agree. Feng Yang said to Vados, then waved his hand, and ordered as if he was dismissing someone, you can go. Vados wiped his sweat. An angel of mine, I didn't expect to be treated like this today. Vados showed a helpless face, so he had to fly to Champa's side. Hey, Bodimo, pass the ball. Feng Yang ignored Vados, but greeted Bodimo. Bodimo. Bodimo was stunned for a long time, and then suddenly came back to his senses. Bodimo suddenly remembered that Hit was still sealed in a ball. Now sitting under Magetta's ass, all squished and deformed. I don't know if this poor guy is alive. Maybe they were all killed. Yes, Your Royal Highness. Bodama quickly responded. Magetta understood, got up quickly, kicked the ball under his buttocks, and passed it to Bodimo. Snapped. Bodimo caught the ball with both hands. After seeing such a situation, many people present were taken aback again. Do you want to continue playing football? This hit is really sad. Does he still have to be kicked as a ball? However, at the moment when Bodomo was just about to kick off, Feng Yang spoke. Bodomo, are you the goalkeeper? Feng Yang asked suddenly. Huh, goalkeeper. Bodomo was a little confused. Didn't I talk about the rules of football before? Feng Yang asked. Ha ha ha, I've said it before, Your Highness, I forgot, I'm really sorry. Except for the goalkeeper, other players are not allowed to touch the ball with their hands. Ha ha ha, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Bodomo quickly made a ha ha and put the ball on the ground. Boom, Feng Yang slapped him across the air, and at that moment Bodomo was rolled several times in the air. Slap, Bodomo fell headlong to the ground. Unruly guy, this is your punishment, Feng Yang said with a cold face. Many people present were confused. Why did His Royal Highness suddenly turn his back on you? However, many careful people immediately came to their senses. The reason why Bodomo was beaten was because of what happened to Hit before, and he ran away under the pretext of having diarrhea. You said you were going to run away, that's all, don't come back. You are back, playing football with His Highness the Prince. His Royal Highness actually settled accounts with him at this time, and there is no one else. This small-minded. However, although many Saiyans felt that His Royal Highness was narrow-minded, they still shouted for him in their hearts. We like such a narrow-minded prince. Only such a prince can love and hate clearly. Say, do you want to be a goalkeeper? Feng Yang shouted at Bodomo. Bodomo will not at all. Will I? Be, or not? Bodomo was trembling with fear. Don't you know if you should be or not? Feng Yang said coldly, you know how to eat delicacies all day long, and you play football so badly that you can't even beat a county-level team. Do you still have value in existence? Bodomo couldn't understand these words, but he understood the last sentence. The value of existence. Bodomo shivered for a moment, then knelt down and kowtowed for mercy. I exist worthwhile. Bodomo never thought that he was almost killed by the prince when he kicked a ball. Champa also glanced this way, and continued to move bricks to build a house. At this time, Vados had already flown back. What did he say? Champa asked. His Royal Highness said that this may be Lord Champa's intention, so let Lord Champa go and beg him, and he may agree if he is in a good mood. Vados smiled. Champa clenched his fists tightly. This fool. Give him face and he will give you face. Wait for me. Champa gritted his teeth. However, Champa suddenly remembered the situation where he was gnashing his teeth and being beaten, and immediately restrained his ferocious expression. What is Master Champa going to do? Vados asked. If you beg him, please beg him. Anyway, let's talk about the match against 7th Universe first. Champa weighed for a moment, made up his mind, and said, besides this guy, don't we have to do you want anyone else to compete? Like Bertama and Frost, and that big robot Magetta. Yeah. Vados nodded. Call out. Champa soared up and flew towards Feng Yang's position. Vados is a close second. By the way, did you find Hit? Champa asked. Not yet. Vados shook his head and replied, if His Royal Highness participates in the competition, I don't think it doesn't matter whether you find Hit or not. No, I want to show the advantages of our universe to the 7th universe, and we can't let them underestimate our universe. Champa snorted. Okay, I'll look again. Vados nodded. Feng Yang sighed. Bodomo got up tremblingly, and passed the ball lightly to Feng Yang. Feng Yang caught the ball with his foot, stomped his foot, and stepped on the football. Boom! With a bang, the football exploded on the spot. The next moment, Hit was blown up by the explosion and flew into the sky. Boom! Feng Yang kicked Hit, forcefully kicking him down from the air. Bang! Hit hit the ground heavily and bounced several times on the ground. After stopping, Hit stopped moving. Wake him up with urination. Feng Yang ordered to Bodomo. Bodomo, it's not that I'm petty, you're the only animal. Feng Yang sighed, it's inappropriate for us men and women to pee on him in front of so many people, don't you think so? Bodomo gritted his teeth and was about to cry, so he stepped forward and urinated on Hit's face. This time he really offended Hit to death. Hit made a quick move and immediately opened his eyes. The moment Hit woke up, he saw Bodomo urinating on himself at a glance. Hit's face became more and more gloomy, and killing intent emerged. Hit wanted to kill Bodomo immediately. It's just that Hit is so weak now that he doesn't even have the strength to raise his hand. There was endless anger in Hit's eyes. He's awake, Your Highness. Bodama trembled violently, and he saw Hit's hateful eyes just now. This time, he has completely broken with Hit. I'm so sad. Champa and Vados, who were flying towards this direction, suddenly slowed down. Champa's eyeballs nearly popped out of their sockets. Is that Hit? Champa was stunned. Yes, it really is Mr. Hit. I didn't expect to be sealed into the energy by His Royal Highness. No wonder I can't find it by ordinary methods. Vados suddenly realized. So it's here. Champa wiped off his sweat, looked down at the weak Hit, and felt a little sympathetic for a while. The same person who was beaten by Shadara, why met before. Looks like it's not a bad injury. Vados sighed. Say, who ordered you to assassinate the king? Feng Yang looked at Hit with a smile, stepped on his face, and asked with interest. Hit gritted his teeth, his face filled with endless grief and indignation. My dignified number one killer in the universe, I never expected to endure such an inhuman encounter today. Crack, crack, Champa and Vados fell from the sky and appeared beside Feng Yang. Aren't you building a palace over there? Why are you here to join in the fun? Gods of destruction, Feng Yang said coldly. Hit's ears perked up at that moment. Gods of destruction. Hit glanced back at Champa. Hit's eyes widened, showing shock on his face. It really is Lord Gods of Destruction. Why is he here too? What is he here for? Well, Your Highness, I sincerely invite you to participate in the competition at the 7th universe. Champa said respectfully. Please. Feng Yang smiled. Please. Champa gritted his teeth. No, Feng Yang said. Champa, Vados. How shameless. Never seen such a shameless person. I beg you, but you can't say it. You are too much. Champa's face darkened. You wait, I'll finish the matter at hand, and then I'll discuss with you about the match with 7th universe. Feng Yang said, putting his foot on Hit's mouth. I have a bad temper, you don't want to say who ordered you, do you? If you don't tell me, I'm not interested in knowing, just destroy you like this. Heat, you step on my mouth, what am I talking about? You take your shoes off. What's the matter, Your Royal Highness? Vados asked. This guy actually dared to assassinate my father. Feng Yang said, I know he has nothing to do with my father. He is just an assassin and wants to complete his mission, so I want to find out who sent him here. Quote. So that's the case. I can help His Highness find out. Vados said, and immediately looked at the crystal ball above the scepter in his hand. It's not Champa that you sent him over, is it? Feng Yang stared at Champa with a smile. Champa trembled at the time, and hurriedly waved his hands in denial. It's not me. How could I do such a thing? Champa panicked. Hit's eyes widened again, showing a look of astonishment. Is this really Lord Gods of Destruction Champa? Why are you so cowardly? Are you fake? I found it. King Dar sent Mr. Hit to assassinate His Majesty the King. Vados explained to Feng Yang. It really is him. Feng Yang smiled lightly. Champa breathed a sigh of relief. You can't doubt people casually. Father, the murderer behind the assassination of you has been found, and it really is King Dar. Feng Yang shouted at the king in the distance. Shua, Shua. The king and queen came quickly from a distance with 4 guards and landed beside Feng Yang. After Ziyao heard the news, she flew over quickly. Caulifla was naturally not far behind. Kale followed behind Caulifla. It really is him. The king nodded. They want to destroy Saiyan's peace. The queen's face was cold. In this way, I will give you another chance to survive at the end. Feng Yang stepped on Hit's face with his foot, and smiled. It depends on whether you cherish it or not. Hit nodded obediently. Even Lord Gods of Destruction was scared. I'm a bit shy, it's like nothing, right? You tell King Dar that you have killed the king and let him come and rule the entire planet Sharada. Feng Yang said to Hit. Hit nodded. It's over. It is estimated that those evil Saiyans will be wiped out by the group. You are still ruthless. It's a good trick to lure the snake out of the hole. Feng Yang let go of Hit. Hit got up from the ground, took out a communicator from his body, and immediately called King Dar. Turn on the speakerphone, Feng Yang said. Hit obediently pressed the speakerphone. Hit, how's it going? Did you succeed? King Dar's voice came through the loudspeaker. Success. Hit replied in a hoarse voice. What's the matter with your voice? King Dar was taken aback. I was injured during the battle. Hit said. Apart from the king, what about the queen? By the way, there is also their prince, how is it? King Dar asked again. The queen and the prince have lost their combat effectiveness, so come and clean up the mess immediately. Hit replied, according to the agreement, you need to pay me a galaxy's worth of wealth. Of course it's okay, it's easy to talk about it. King Dar laughed, I'm going to planet Shadara right now. About how long have you been here? Hit asked. I have been waiting for your good news in the universe space for a long time. King Dar's voice was a little excited. I will be able to reach the planet Shadara in no more than 20 minutes. Okay, I'll wait for you here. Hit replied. Snapped. Heater ended the call. Boom. Feng Yang kicked Hit flying. Call out. Hit drew an arc in the air, and after landing, he completely passed out again. If you can survive, I count you lucky. Feng Yang smiled slightly, stopped caring about Hit, and then looked at Champa with a smile. Champa took a step back in fright, his face changed again and again. Tell me, what kind of matches are there with the 7th universe? Feng Yang asked with great interest. To put it simply, our 6th universe and 7th universe each select 5 humans to compete with, that's it. Champa simply explained. Win, what rewards will there be? Feng Yang asked. If we win, we'll exchange the Earths of the 2 universes. Champa truthfully stated. Why exchange the Earth? Is there anything special about that planet? Feng Yang asked with a smile. The Earth of the 7th universe has very outstanding food, yes. Vados wants to eat food. Champa shifted the contradiction to Vados. Oh, yes, the delicacies on the Earth in the 7th universe are indeed very delicious. Vados nodded in recognition. Master Champa and I tasted 2 cups at Lord Gods of Destruction Beerus in the 7th universe, very ordinary instant noodles, the taste is even more outstanding than delicacies from mountains and seas. Vados was almost drooling as he spoke. Is this it? The guard Dongfeng took out a cup of instant noodles and handed it to Vados with both hands. Vados froze for a moment. Champa's eyes widened too. The two looked at the cup of instant noodles carefully. Yes, it's very similar to. Vados nodded. Oh, it's amazing, do you also have instant noodles here? Our Prince Highness developed this when he was 5 years old when he had nothing to do. Dongfeng replied respectfully. It's not just instant noodles, there are many delicacies on our planet Sadara. The king immediately took over the words, if Lord Gods of Destruction doesn't mind, you can have a good taste. I don't mind, of course I don't mind. Champa nodded. After the work is done, come over to taste the delicious food. Feng Yang said. Champa, that is to say, if the food on planet Shirata is also very good, if our 6th universe wins, we don't need to exchange Earth with the 7th universe, right? Vados asked Feng Yang. What if we lose? What do they need? Feng Yang asked. This is the Super Dragon Ball. As long as you get 7 of them together, you can make any wish come true. Vados replied. It's okay to let me participate in the competition. If I win, the Dragon Ball will be given to me, no problem. Feng Yang said with a smile. Vados looked at Champa immediately. Of course no problem. Champa nodded. My purpose is to get you in the game. Only if you participate in the competition, our universe will win the final victory. And you and that Beerus guy have such bad tempers, it's bound to be a hit. However, if I participate in the competition, won't I bully them a bit? Feng Yang pondered. The 7th universe also has Saiyans, and those 2 Saiyans specifically want Saiyan from our universe to compete with them. Champa explained. Saiyan from the 7th universe. Great, I want to meet them too. Caulifla said excitedly. Feng Yang, let's take part in the competition, I want to too. Feng Yang glanced at Caulifla. You enter the competition. You are not enough Son Goku or Vegeta they fight. Since it's Saiyan from the 7th universe, I'll take part in the competition too. Zi Yao replied. Feng Yang, let's participate. Caulifla said with some expectation. Anyone else want to participate? Feng Yang asked. His Royal Highness, can I participate? Gabe stepped forward to ask Feng Yang for advice. Is there any more? Feng Yang asked again. Cal, you should participate too, it will be very interesting. Caulifla turned her head to look at Kale. Sister, I can't do it. Kale lowered his head a little unconfidently. It's okay, Kale, this kind of competition is rare. It's a good thing to get out of our universe and go to other universes to gain knowledge, isn't it? Caulifla persuaded. Then, can I participate? Your Royal Highness, Kale asked cautiously. The 4 of you, plus His Royal Highness, 5 Saiyans will play, the number is just right. Vados nodded with a smile. Who said I'm going to participate in the competition? Feng Yang smiled. I just said that if I participate in the competition, I will be too bullying. Champa, Vados. But you can rest assured, even if I don't participate in the competition, I can guarantee that our universe will win. Feng Yang smiled. I will definitely win the Super Dragon Ball. Let Mr. Hitter play then, Vados suggested. Champa felt that the whole person was not well. You don't participate in the competition, how can I let you fight Beerus? If the 4 of you really want to participate in the competition, you have to practice hard. Feng Yang pondered, with your current level, you may not be the opponent of the 7th Universe Saiyan. It shouldn't be a big problem. Champa said with a smile, I have seen the 2 Saiyans from the 7th Universe. They are very bulky and their strength is probably not very good. Vados, when does the game start? Feng Yang asked. 5 days later, Vados replied. Great, in 5 days, Champa should be able to repair my palace. Feng Yang smiled. Champa wiped his sweat vigorously. Boy, wait for me. I will definitely make you look good. No problem, right, Champa? Feng Yang asked with a smile. No problem, Champa replied with a dark face. Vados, do you want to lose or win? Feng Yang asked. Of course I want to win, who wants to lose? Champa responded immediately. If you want to win, you have to practice hard. Feng Yang pondered, looked at Vados and asked again, Vados, do you have any special space there? For example, if you practice for a year inside, only 1 day has passed outside. You're talking about a different dimension. Vados nodded. Yes, there are many such special spaces in the universe, where the time flow is relatively slow, so it is out of sync with our outside time. Then you are responsible for finding such a space, and then I will take them all to practice. Feng Yang said, and you have to go too. Me, am I going too? Vados was taken aback. Of course. Feng Yang nodded. Vados, promise him. Champa thought for a while and said immediately. Okay. Vados didn't object after all. Since the competition has been finalized, why are you still here in a daze? Hurry up and repair my palace. Feng Yang ordered to Champa. Champa ran to repair the palace in desperation. After about 20 minutes, a large universe spaceship hovers over the palace. Among the universe spacecraft, King Dar sat tall on the throne, wearing a crown on his head, with endless evil smiles in his eyes. Congratulations to King Dar, today will be the day for us to rebuild Shadala, said a subordinate respectfully. Sure enough, it was the right choice to invite Mr. Hit to play. Another subordinate also smiled, if he makes a move, the king must die. What's going on in the palace now? King Dar asked. Back to King Dar, the palace is in a mess, and the back mountain has been completely destroyed. It seems that there was a fierce battle before this. Someone immediately responded. This guy Hit is a bit of a waste of his name, he just dealt with the king of Shadala, he still needs to make such a big commotion. King Dar smiled contemptuously. Father, my child has applied for the battle. A young man who looked very similar to King Dar smiled and said. The young man was the son of King Dar, and his name was Darak. Dalek, I believe that with your fighting power, you can easily destroy all those who resist. King Dale smiled, his tail wagging slightly, you are the hope of our Saiyan future. Dalek's face was also full of confidence, he swung his tail, took out a strange fruit and ate it in one bite. This kind of fruit can greatly improve your combat effectiveness. Now your combat effectiveness has far surpassed that of your father. King Dar patted his son on the shoulder with satisfaction. Joining hands with my father, I will surely be able to easily occupy the entire Shadara planet. Dalek showed a cold smile. I've known for a long time that the king is hiding his strength. King Dar said with a smile, so letting Hit assassinate the king saves a lot of trouble. Actually, the child may not lose to the king. Dalek clenched his fists and said, I am the strongest Saiyan. There is no need to fight him to the death. Our goal is to reoccupy Shadara and regain our planet. King Dar smiled, and, it is now the full moon period near the planetary palace of Shadara. I see. Dalek nodded, but I don't know why. I always have a bad feeling. King Dar muttered in a low voice. Huh, King Dar, found a strange figure. At this time, a staff member suddenly became suspicious, and immediately transferred the video to King Dar. What? King Dar looked at the big screen. On the big screen, there was indeed a figure from behind. Looking at the back, it seems to be a cat person. The cat people are repairing the palace. King Dar was stunned for a moment, and suddenly felt that he had seen this cat man before. At this moment, Champa also sensed that someone was watching him secretly. Champa turned around slowly, turning his head to look in the direction of the camera. Champa's face was just displayed on the large screen of King Dar. King Dar's smile gradually froze, his face turned pale instantly, and his eyeballs almost popped out of their sockets. Yes, yes, Lord Gods of Destruction. King Dar lost his voice. What? Lord Gods of Destruction? Dalek's face changed again and again. Many younger brothers present were also stunned. Father, is he really Gods of Destruction? Dalek didn't believe it. Why did Gods of Destruction build a palace here? King Dar, did you make a mistake? The younger brothers were all talking about it, showing shock on their faces. The situation is getting worse and worse. On the way here, I have an ominous premonition. King Dar said in a deep voice, get out of here quickly. Return to planet. Yes, the universe spaceship quickly soared into the sky and was about to evacuate here. Shua, Champa was even faster, just appearing directly under the universe spacecraft in an instant, and slapped it lightly. Boom, the engine of the universe spacecraft was shattered by Champa's palm. Call out. The universe spacecraft lost its balance and fell towards the palace. Champa was so frightened that his soul almost flew out. Mistake, misstep. Why did you run towards the palace? If you destroy the palace again, when will I have to repair it? And maybe I'll have to get another beating. Call out. Champa quickly chased after him, and caught the falling universe spaceship, which was tens of thousands of times bigger than him. Immediately afterwards, Champa threw the universe ship into an uninhabited area in the distance. Blue smoke rose from the universe spacecraft. Many people in the universe spaceship are also stumbling around. Bang, bang. The next moment, King Dar and Dalek soared into the sky, directly penetrated the universe spaceship, and hovered above the sky side by side. King Dar quickly looked towards Champa. After seeing Champa's face clearly, King Dar flew down without the slightest hesitation, landed on the opposite side of Champa, and knelt down to salute. Dalek followed suit, kneeling in front of Champa. Greetings, Lord Gods of Destruction. King Dar said respectfully. Champa didn't say much, just glanced at the father and son, and immediately ran to repair the palace. King Dar was dumbfounded at the time. What's the situation? The father and son looked at each other, a little puzzled. What's going on? Is this really Gods of Destruction? Ah, I suddenly forgot one thing. Champa just flew near the palace, and then quickly appeared next to the universe spaceship. Destroy. With a wave of Champa's big hand, a burst of destructive energy instantly covered the large universe spaceship. Snapped. In the blink of an eye, the universe spaceship, tens of thousands of times larger than Champa, immediately dissipated like soap bubbles, turned into nothingness, and disappeared without a trace. The universe spaceship and the people in the spaceship all disappeared. King Dar and Dalek father and son were scared out of their wits, with lingering fears in their hearts. Luckily we escaped from the universe ship. Otherwise it will be destroyed, right? This guy is indeed Gods of Destruction. What makes King Dar and Dalek a little puzzled is, what is Lord Gods of Destruction doing here? What surprised the two of them even more was still behind. I saw that Gods of Destruction immediately ran to the palace to repair the palace after destroying the universe spaceship. King Dar was confused. Dalek's eyes widened even more, showing shock on his face. What's the situation? Just when the two were a little confused. Shish, Feng Yang, the king, queen, Xiao, Khalifah, and the four guards appeared on the scene instantly. Vados didn't come, and ran away to eat instant noodles. What? You're not dead? King Dar looked at the king in surprise. I've let you down, King Dar. The king smiled. Feng Yang also immediately looked at King Dar. Originally, Feng Yang thought that King Dar would look a lot like Vegeta. It turned out not to be. As for the specific appearance, Feng Yang thinks it is not important anymore. He was a dying guy anyway. The only thing that surprised Feng Yang was that King Dar's son was not weak. Where is Hit? Where is he? Was he bought by you? King Dar immediately stood up from the ground. Darak also stood up. Hit, come here. Feng Yang yelled into the distance like calling a dog. Call out. Hit immediately flew over from a distance. I have to say that Hit's life is still relatively hard. In the end, he was kicked by Feng Yang and barely survived. After Hit woke up, he immediately took out the healing potion and ate it for himself. Only then did he recover a lot of strength and his injury improved. After Hit woke up, he heard the people next to him talk about Feng Yang's battle with gods of destruction. Hit was still in shock, and felt that his fate was hard. Hearing Feng Yang's order at this time, Hit dared not disobey, and hurriedly landed beside Feng Yang, bowing in salute. Didn't watch gods of destruction. I'd better be honest. This Prince of Saiyan is too strong. Even gods of destruction was defeated by him. Seeing Hit flying over from a distance, and showing respect to their prince, King Dar and Dalek were even more confused. The two guessed that it was probably gods of destruction who rescued the king here, right? The question is, why did gods of destruction repair the palace for the king himself? Does Lord Gods of Destruction have this hobby? Our palace should also be repaired and repaired. Why don't you go and repair the palace for us? King Dar, my father spared your life back then, but you still don't repent. The king said coldly, today, I sentence you to death. You, what are you? King Dar shouted angrily, I am the real king of Shadara. As he spoke, King Dar immediately looked up at the full moon in the sky. The next moment, King Dar's body changed rapidly. In just an instant, King Dar transformed into a black gorilla. Even now, King Dar didn't care whether the gods of destruction was present or not. If you don't resist, you will be killed by the king. Roar. After King Dar turned into a giant ape, he let out a roar, took big steps, and stepped on the king. Slap. The king was trampled below. Your Majesty. The queen turned pale with shock. The 4 guards were also in shock. Ha ha ha, king, you are not doing well. King Dar laughed. However, King Dar smiled, but his smile gradually froze. Just when the queen, Xiao, Khalifa and the 4 guards were worried. Snapped. A golden light suddenly radiated from the feet of King Dar. The next moment, the king raised his right hand high and easily supported King Dar's feet. Champa glanced this way and continued to repair the city wall. Snapped. The king's golden light bloomed and turned into Super Saiyan. Chapter 31. What kind of change is this? King Dar was shocked. This is called Super Saiyan. The king smiled. What? Super Saiyan, the most powerful warrior in the legend. King Dar's huge body trembled violently, and his face turned pale. I've already given you a chance. The king snorted coldly, and a golden flame shot out from his hand. PFF'd. The golden light directly penetrated King Dar's heart. Ah! King Dar let out a muffled snort, and fell to the ground with a bang. His huge body kicked up a large cloud of dust. And at the moment King Dar fell to the ground, his huge body shrank rapidly and returned to its original appearance. King Dar twitched uncontrollably, and he seemed to be dead. Father! Dalek turned pale with shock, and then flew into a rage. Ah! Dalek immediately took out the fruits one after another, and stuffed them into his mouth in big gulps. Boom! A powerful aura erupted from Dalek's body, and the energy on his body surged crazily. Spiritual fruit. The king was taken aback. After Dalek ate the fruits, he immediately looked up at the artificial full moon in the sky. Not good. The king was slightly surprised. Maid, please do me a favor. Feng Yang greeted. Vados rolled his eyes. Call me maid again. Do you want to eat more delicious food? Feng Yang asked with a smile. Shua. Vados put down the instant noodles, and immediately flew up, appearing beside Feng Yang. What's the matter, His Royal Highness? Vados asked. Please cover the moon. Feng Yang said, I originally wanted to destroy the moon, but it's not worth destroying the moon for this guy. Vados let out a helpless sigh. Fart big thing. I thought you needed me to do something. Vados did not object, and pointed at the full moon in the sky with the scepter in his hand. Snapped. The full moon suddenly disappeared. Just disappeared out of thin air. The great ape of Dalark has changed in half. Immediately afterwards, the lark made a desperate discovery. The moon is gone. All of a sudden it disappeared. Shua. Dalek's body quickly returned to its original appearance. Dalek's expression changed again and again. Become a giant ape in front of me, bluffing and tricking, you've got a good idea. Feng Yang said with a smile, thank you, maid. Vados. Okay, you're going to give me food. Vados snorted. It's easy to talk about. When the time comes, go to a different dimension. I'll make you some delicious food, which will definitely satisfy you. Feng Yang patted his chest and immediately agreed. That's good. Vados nodded. By the way, how many people can live in that different dimensional space? Feng Yang asked again. There is no limit on how many people can be confined, as long as there is enough food to bring in. Vados pondered. I see. Feng Yang smiled slightly. Boy, you were looking for death. Dalek found out that Feng Yang ordered others to destroy the moon, and he was furious at that moment, turned into a stream of light, and quickly rushed towards Feng Yang's position. If I can't beat your father, can I still kill you? I want to control you, and then take my father and leave this place immediately. Otherwise we will all be killed. Feng Yang didn't move, just stood there with his arms folded. Snapped. At this critical moment, Hit made a move. Hit stepped forward and grabbed Dalek's arm. Hit, what do you want? Dalek yelled angrily, as the #1 killer in the universe, why don't you show professional ethics at all? You've already taken our money. You almost killed me. Hit sneered. PFF'd. The next moment, Hit's palm directly penetrated Dalek's abdomen. Hit only hopes he can atone for his sins through this. Otherwise, I will not be able to mix in this universe in the future. Ah, ah, ah. Dalek's face convulsed, his whole body twitched uncontrollably, blood gushed from his mouth, he seemed to be dying. HMPH. Hit flicked his hand, throwing Dalek to the ground. That's right, that moment just now was okay, but it doesn't mean I've forgiven you. Feng Yang smiled. Yes, Your Royal Highness. Hit trembled for a moment, and quickly fell to his knees. That cat, come here and destroy the two of them. Feng Yang ordered to Champa, are you going to keep them for the new year? It's an eyesore here. Call out. Champa came flying from afar, and with a big wave of his hand, two destructive energies covered King Dar and Darak. Snapped. King Dar and Dalek immediately turned into scum, and the dead couldn't die anymore. After destroying these two people, Champa went to repair the palace again. All the people present were speechless. You were really obedient. Hit shuddered again. This gods of destruction is too obedient. Thanks to my quicker reaction just now. Otherwise, I will be destroyed on the spot, right? Then, Your Highness, I have found a different dimension, when are we going to leave? Vados asked. Since the matters here have been settled, let's leave immediately. Feng Yang nodded, then turned to look at the king and queen to ask for their opinions. Go ahead, come on. The queen patted Feng Yang on the shoulder, you have grown up, son, the queen is proud of you. Feng Yang did not answer this question, but immediately turned his head to look at the two beautiful maids Chunhua and Chushi beside the queen, and swallowed a mouthful of saliva. Queen, Chunhua, Chushi, from today onwards, you will serve His Highness the Prince. The queen ordered. Yes, Empress Queen. Chunhua and Chushi cheered happily. The queen covered her face, showing a look of helplessness. Is it appropriate for me as a queen mother to do this? Xiao, relax. The queen stepped forward to hold Xiao's hand again, and said softly. Xiao showed a look of grievance. Don't be wronged, now it's just Chunhua and Chushi, and that Caulifla. You have to be mentally prepared. The queen said softly. Xiao raised her head and stared at the queen, a little confused about what the next sentence meant. I feel that what the prince means is not just as simple as wanting a few of them. The queen said. Xiao, because the foundation of the prince is not yet stable, and the harem has not yet reached a certain scale, you should at least run for a concubine. The queen whispered, otherwise, you will only be a promise or something. Promise. Xiao wiped her sweat silently. By the way, I have to sort out the ranks of the harem later. That's a book from a long time ago, the queen pondered. Xiao wants to cry but has no tears. Father, Queen Mother, then we will set off immediately. Feng Yang greeted. Go, father looks after you. The king laughed. Prince, wait a moment. The queen said suddenly. With that said, the queen stepped up to Feng Yang's side, took his hand, and took him aside. What's the matter, Queen Mother? Feng Yang was taken aback. Son, let's have a fight with your father before you leave, the queen suggested. Ah, this. Feng Yang wiped his sweat. Mother, if you want to cheat, you won't let my father's own son kill him, right? You find 5 people to beat him up. Queen, what a mess, what are you talking about? The queen's face darkened. You asked me to fight my father, how can my father have any face? Feng Yang sighed. I have already said that my father's Super Saiyan is stronger than mine, so what if he loses to me? I mean, you deliberately lost to your father, said the queen. Does the queen mother really think that these people can't see it? Feng Yang pondered. Whether they can see it or not, you have to do the whole thing for them. The queen smiled and said, you have to do the whole thing when you're acting. Feng Yang thought about it carefully. There was nothing wrong with what the queen mother said. Things about Super Saiyan and Advanced Saiyan. At first, Feng Yang just talked casually to tease everyone. When it comes to fighting hit, Feng Yang said that the high-level Saiyan is weaker than the Super Saiyan, and everyone can barely accept it. But now Feng Yang has defeated the gods of destruction. If everyone present still believes that Super Saiyan is stronger, then they are a bit blind. In fact, many people were a little skeptical at first, and even more skeptical after the battle. Is His Majesty's Super Saiyan really that strong? Is it really stronger than His Royal Highness? It feels impossible. Bodimo, Frost and Magetta also expressed doubts, but they didn't mean to say it. As you all know, this is His Highness the Prince who wants to establish the throne for his father. How much does it not give others face to tear it apart? What are the consequences of not giving face? Bodimo was beaten even with the ball in his hands. On the surface, His Royal Highness looks very easygoing, but in fact he is narrow-minded. It's easy to say. Naturally, Feng Yang would not object. In the future, I am afraid that I will leave the planet Shadara and my parents. I have to keep my planet safe. So the mother's method is also a good choice. Let those who covet the Shadara planet just hear the title of Super Saiyan, let them be scared to death. Many spectators at the scene were about to leave. Then someone spread an explosive message. Your Royal Highness is going to challenge our King His Majesty. Open challenge. One is Advanced Saiyan. One is Super Saiyan. Who is stronger? In fact, many people who eat melons are a little skeptical. It is suspected that His Highness the Prince is stronger than the King. But there is no basis at all. The main reason is that His Royal Highness has no breath on his body, and he can't sense his energy intensity at all. In comparison, His Majesty's breath is much stronger, giving people a feeling of shaking the world. Now I heard that the two of them are going to compete. Because His Royal Highness said, he feels that his Senior Saiyan 2 is infinitely close to the strength of Super Saiyan. So His Royal Highness wants to compete with His Majesty the King to see how far he is from Super Saiyan. Vados wasn't idle either. Cannibalism is short. Under Feng Yang's order, Vados pointed lightly at the ring that had been destroyed before with the scepter in his hand. Snapped. The arena returned to its original appearance in an instant. Many viewers clapped their hands and applauded after seeing such a situation. Is this woman a magician? Bravo! The broken arena can be restored. It's amazing. Good job, maid. Feng Yang gave Vados a thumbs up. Small, it's nothing more than restoring a ring. Vados smiled indifferently. Then you can restore the back mountain by the way. Feng Yang suggested. With the mountain gone, the feng shui here in the palace will not be very good. Vados, gourmet food is enough, Feng Yang said. Okay, Your Royal Highness. Without the slightest hesitation, Vados immediately appeared above the destroyed back mountain. Vados holds a scepter, like a fairy. Snapped. The scepter in Vados' hand pointed at the mountain below. An invisible angel power quickly covered the back mountain. Suddenly, the back mountain that had been raised to the ground rose up. The back mountain stones and dust that had turned into scum before instantly returned to their previous appearance. Under the action of Vados, Dashan fully recovered in less than a few seconds. The king's eyes widened. The queen was even more stunned. What is the origin of this woman? Even the mountain can be restored. This mountain covers a very large area. Feng Yang, do you think about letting this maid be your concubine? The queen pondered aside. Feng Yang, this is a bit difficult. Feng Yang sighed. In addition to the fact that her skin color is different from ours, actually, if you look closely, she is indeed very beautiful, even more beautiful than your queen mother when she was young. The queen silently looked at Vados in the sky. The queen hadn't looked at Vados carefully before. The main reason is that Vados' skin color is a bit strange. The queen did not turn her into a beauty. Now looking from below, the queen saw that Vados had a figure and a good looks. In addition to the skin color and Saiyan are not very coordinated, I have to say that she is also a very outstanding beauty. I think so too. The king nodded aside. If you don't talk about skin color, she is indeed more beautiful than your queen mother when she was young. The queen scowled. Feng Yang, skin color is actually not a problem. When the lights are turned off at night, do you still care about skin color? The king patted Feng Yang on the shoulder. By the way, there is another way. She has blue skin. At that time, I will install a red lamp for you, and emit a special light on it, which can temporarily change the color of a person's skin, making him look similar to our skin color. Isn't it very exciting? Is there still this special lamp? Feng Yang's eyes lit up. Yes, our Saiyan's technology is quite advanced. This kind of thing has existed before, and it was originally used for changing skins. The king smiled. The queen covered her face and said nothing. Can you father and son avoid talking a little bit? Is that appropriate? Help me pack it, I'm going to take it to that other dimensional space for research. Feng Yang said. It's easy to say. The king nodded without any objection, and waved to the 4 guards, telling them to do this for the prince. The queen sighed helplessly, looking at Ziyao with some sympathy. Ziyao was really born at the wrong time. You have too many competitors. The 4 guards immediately saluted respectfully and went to work. In addition to this lamp that can change the skin color, Feng Yang also needs a lot of food raw materials. After all, you have to live in a different dimension for 2 or 3 years. Bring something extra to be prepared. Saiyan is actually very rich these years. After all, the Shadara planet is a peaceful planet. There is no war on the planet, and everyone is developing the economy, making the entire Shadara planet prosperous and strong. Although Saiyan can eat very well, these foods are enough for Saiyan to eat for more than 10 years without working. Father, please. Feng Yang invited the king to step onto the ring. The king flew up and slowly landed on the ring. Feng Yang also landed unhurriedly on the opposite side of the king. Today, let us father and son have a good discussion. The king laughed, and the golden light bloomed on his body, and he had already become a Super Saiyan. Snapped. Feng Yang wasn't too polite either. Purple flames burst out all over his body, purple arcs twined around him, and his hair even turned purple. Feng Yang activated self-intention too. After seeing the transformation of the king and prince, many people were a little bit at a loss. Judging from the transformation postures of the 2 people, obviously, the transformation of His Royal Highness is much more gorgeous. The transformation of His Majesty the King looks so simple. The golden light on His Majesty's body is pure golden light. But the purple-red light of His Royal Highness, aside from those lightning bolts, gave people a very deep feeling. And inside these purple-red rays of light, it seems to see universe stars. What's going on? Vados was at Champa's side after repairing the back hill. Master Champa, I will take the prince to practice in a different dimension in a while, and you should repair the palace here. Vados smiled. You shut up. Champa glared. Hey, work hard. Vados said with a smile. If the palace is not repaired well enough, His Royal Highness will be dissatisfied. Champa shivered. His face changed again and again. The match is about to begin. Vados suddenly became interested and looked towards the ring in the distance. What's so good about this kind of fake match? Are the 2 of them comparable? Champa snorted. 100 kings, no, 10,000 kings are not enough for that kid. What Super Saiyan? Nonsense. The more this kind of fake game, the more appreciation value it has. It depends on how His Royal Highness behaves, so as not to arouse the suspicion of the citizens. Vados said with a smile. HMPH, whatever, it's not interesting to know the result anyway. Champa hummed. On the ring, Feng Yang turned into a stream of purple-red light, and quickly rushed towards the king's direction. Bang bang bang. The next moment, Feng Yang punched and kicked the king. Looking at the king again, he just stood there, motionless. Feng Yang's attack speed became faster and faster, leaving streaks of purple-red light and shadow nearby. The king stood there like a wooden stake, allowing Feng Yang to punch and kick him. Of course, Feng Yang didn't really hit the king either. If it had been hit, the king would have been killed long ago. Look, His Majesty the king won't move. His Royal Highness is so fast. His Majesty's defense is simply invincible. His Royal Highness has fought for so long, but hasn't broken the defense. The citizens talked a lot, and each one was more surprised and appalled than the other. His Royal Highness's strength is controlled just right. At the moment of punching, he immediately retracted the strength of the fist. Vados said next to Champa. Aren't you talking nonsense? With his strength, the king could be killed instantly with a single punch. Champa snorted. It's a pity to be able to control the power of destruction to such an extent that it's not gods of destruction. Vados sighed. Champa's face changed color slightly. After a short silence. Is this kid going to be gods of destruction? Champa said in a deep voice. Hard to say. Vados shook his head. Champa felt that the whole person was not well. The king showed a look of confusion. What about this kid? Didn't you agree to compete with me? Why did you disappear in a flash? Where did you go? Strangeness. Why do I feel like there is a purple thing flashing around me? What is this? The king tried to drive the purple thing away with a slight wave of his hand. What? Immediately afterwards, the king heard a scream. Call out. Feng Yang turned into a purple-red streamer, fell down from the ring, and fell heavily to the ground. Snapped. The purple-red light on Feng Yang's body collapsed all of a sudden. The king was a little confused. What's the situation? You kid can't let the water go like this. I didn't even hit you, why did you fall by yourself? As expected of my father, as worthy of being the #1 Super Saiyan in the universe, I lost. Feng Yang struggled to get up from the ground, spat out a mouthful of old blood, and immediately held the ground with one hand. Almost fell. Everyone was shocked. Many people who had doubts before, after seeing such an astonishing scene, their doubts have faded a lot. Of course, some smart people speculated that the father and son might be acting. But so what? Besides, is there any need for acting? The nationals also saw the match between the two of them. His Majesty the king is really too strong, so he just stood there motionless and asked His Highness to fight. His Royal Highness doesn't wear defenses. In the end, His Majesty the king waved his hand lightly, and His Highness Prince flew away directly. Super Saiyan really lived up to its reputation. Your Royal Highness has a long way to go. Is it true that His Majesty the king is stronger than His Royal Highness the Prince? Bodama muttered. Cuckoo, cuckoo. Megetta nodded vigorously, thinking that Bodamo's words were correct. Frost glanced at Bodimo and Megetta, but did not speak. These two idiots. Frost could see that the prince was letting the water go on purpose, but he didn't mean to point it out. Hit also didn't say anything. This isn't right. Ordinarily Feng Yang won't lose to His Majesty the king. Caulifla held her chin and muttered in a low voice. Kale nodded vigorously from the side. Cal, do you think so too? Caulifla asked. Yes, sister, Kale replied. Ziyao rolled her eyes. Are you an idiot? Can't you see that His Royal Highness is deliberately releasing water? This is to consolidate the throne for His Majesty the king. You are such a peasant, you don't understand the minds of royal families and nobles. Snapped. The king quickly landed beside Feng Yang, and stretched out his hand to pull him up. The citizens present applauded and shouted long live. At this moment, Feng Yang pushed his father's reputation to the peak. Why did you fall out by yourself? The king asked in a low voice. Didn't my father slap me out? Feng Yang said with a smile. Queen, cooperating with His Majesty, did not see anything. Ah, ha ha ha, isn't it? The king smiled awkwardly. At this moment, the king clearly knew how big the gap was between himself and the prince. It feels like I'm not on the same level as this kid. After I come out of the different dimension, I will have time to discuss the issue of cultivation with my father. Feng Yang smiled. Go child, you are the pride of the father. The king nodded and patted Feng Yang on the shoulder. Vados, are we ready to go? Feng Yang greeted. Okay. Vados flew forward quickly. Snapped. Vados pointed the scepter at the ground out of thin air. Suddenly, a rectangular block appeared on the ground. Those who are going to practice, please go to this square. Vados greeted. Strange thing, Caulifla muttered, and walked to the side of the block to look. Where's the door? Huh, I don't know much. Ziyao snorted. Her body directly penetrated the cube and entered it. Huh, is the door hidden? Caulifla suddenly realized, and immediately had a close contact with cube. Shua. Caulifla also entered the cube. What a miraculous thing. Caulifla sighed for a while. Kale followed Caulifla and stepped in. Chunhua Chushi, you two come too. Feng Yang waved to Chunhua Chushi. Yes, Your Highness. Chunhua and Chushi immediately bowed and stepped into the square. It's me next, please take care of me. Gabe smiled and walked towards the direction of the square. Boom. Feng Yang waved his hand lightly, and slapped it across the air. Gabe flew upside down and sat on the ground. Why are you joining in the fun? Feng Yang reprimanded. His Royal Highness, this. Gabe couldn't help it at all, showing confusion on his face. Didn't you agree to let me participate in the competition? Why don't you let me go? You practice here by yourself. Feng Yang said. Yes. Gabe bowed hurriedly. Then, everyone is here, we can start Vados. Feng Yang greeted Vados and entered the cube. Vados. Vados looked carefully at the person inside the cube. Are you going to choose a concubine? Why are all the beauties there? There is no man but you. Vados sighed helplessly, but didn't say much, and immediately jumped to the top of the cube with a light leap. Lord Champa, Your Majesty the King, Your Majesty the Queen, let's go. Vados waved his hand politely. Thank you. The Queen nodded. Okay, sorry to trouble you. The King replied. Call out. With the flying cube, Vados turned into a streamer as bright as a star, and quickly sank into the starry sky. Come on, kid, try to bring me a grandson back. The King waved his hand. The Queen's face turned cold, and she gave the King a hard look. Vados, who was advancing at high speed, obviously heard the King's words, and the release of Angel's power was a bit uneven. Suddenly, the flying cube came to a sudden stop in the universe. Chunhua, Chushi, Ziyao and Caulifla threw themselves on Feng Yang together. 5 people stacked together. Feng Yang. Champa looked up at Vados and the prince who had gone away, with a slight arc on the corner of his mouth, revealing a cold smile. Snapped. Champa slapped the newly built palace to pieces. Such a move made the faces of the king, queen and others change again and again. As soon as His Royal Highness left, Lord Gods of Destruction began to wreak havoc. The king's expression became more and more serious. You gods of destruction, you don't talk about wood. Your face has changed too quickly. Shua. Champa quickly appeared opposite the king, looking at him coldly. King, what do you want to do? The king said in a deep voice. Champa took a deep look at the king. Immediately afterwards, Champa stopped talking, and the purple light flashed on his body. Call out. Champa turned into a purple-red streamer, instantly submerged into the starry sky, and disappeared in a flash. The king and queen were stunned. What is this guy up to? Hid and the others were also completely dumbfounded, completely unable to understand what Master Champa wanted to do. All the people present turned pale with fright, for fear that Lord Gods of Destruction would destroy the Shadara planet in the universe space. Fortunately, after waiting for a long time, there is no movement from Lord Gods of Destruction. Shouldn't it be destroying the planet? The queen pondered. I think he might have sent reinforcements. Rescue soldiers. The king was taken aback. We are the 6th universe, isn't there a 7th universe? The queen guessed, then there should be more universes besides this one, and there may be gods of destruction in these universes, maybe this Lord Gods of Destruction. It's time to go to another universe to find gods of destruction, so we can join forces to deal with the prince. Then isn't our child in danger? Tell him quickly. The king's face sank. The prince didn't bring any communication equipment with him when he left, the queen said in a deep voice. This is terrible. The king clenched his fists tightly and said through gritted teeth, No, I want to become stronger. Let me protect our son. Planet. Evil Saiyan Palace headquarters. A young man stood at the window of the main hall and looked at the scenery outside. Congratulations, Your Highness, the little prince. After today, Planet Plant will be under your control. A subordinate smiled beside the young man. HMPH, let the father and elder brother go to Sadara. I like the environment of Planet very much. The boy smiled. The two are talking. Your Highness, little prince, something is wrong. A servant ran in a panic, kneeling and saluting to the young man standing in the main hall. What's the rush? The young man asked calmly. Just now there was news from the Shadala planet. King Dar, the eldest prince, and all the guards were all killed. The servant replied in a panic. What did you say? The little Prince Dalat's eyes widened and his face turned pale. It is said that before this, Prince Fengyang of Shadara defeated Hit the killer. The servant said again. What? Their prince defeated Hit? Hit is the #1 killer in the universe. Dalat showed disbelief. Not only that, Prince Fengyang also defeated Lord Gods of Destruction. The servant's body trembled even more violently. What are you talking about? Lord Gods of Destruction? Don't be kidding. Isn't Gods of Destruction an invincible myth? The little prince was so shocked that his jaw almost dropped. It's true to say that, but that's what it said. The servant was still in shock. It is said that Lord Gods of Destruction accidentally destroyed Prince Fengyang's palace when he landed, and Prince Fengyang was furious after that. He was severely repaired. Now, Lord Gods of Destruction is repairing the palace for him. The little Prince Dalat stopped talking. The horror in his eyes was visible to the naked eye. Later, King Dar and His Royal Highness went to planet Shadara and were destroyed by Gods of Destruction, the servant said in a deep voice. Dalat was trembling with fright. Later, Prince Fengyang had a friendly exchange with the king, and the king sent Prince Fengyang flying with just a wave of his hand. The servant replied tremblingly. What did you say? Dalat was completely panicked, and asked in panic, who are they? It is said that Prince Fengyang is a senior Saiyan, and the king is a Super Saiyan. The servant said in a deep voice. Super Saiyan. Dalat sat down on the ground. Super Saiyan. Is that the most powerful warrior in the legendary universe? The subordinates were also extremely shocked. But, what is a high-level Saiyan? Why have you never heard of it? It's said to be a transformation on the way to Super Saiyan. The body emits purple-red flames. Super Saiyan is golden light. The servant explained. After a brief hesitation, Dalat soared into the sky and flew out of the window. Your Highness, where are you going? The subordinate immediately shouted. Plant planet, I don't want it anymore. Dalat said loudly. Subordinate. 5 minutes later, a universe ship quickly left plant. The little Prince Dalat began a long escape life in the universe. In one day, the evil King Dar and the eldest prince of Saiyan died, and the news of the little prince's escape immediately spread throughout the entire plant planet. All the surviving evil Saiyans were terrified. Especially after hearing the horror of the king on Shadara planet, many evil Saiyan children dare not cry in the middle of the night. Super Saiyan. It's just too scary. An unknown planet. Vados brought Fengyang and others down from the sky and landed on the earth of the planet. And on the surface of this planet, there is a huge humanoid sculpture. The sculpture depicts a lifelike woman. The woman is wearing a short skirt and sitting on the ground with her legs together. The sculpture is too big. The toe is about the same size as Fengyang's body. Here we are, Vados said. The environment here is suitable for your Saiyans to survive. It was also hard for me to find a planet where you can live and have a different dimension. I'm sorry to trouble you. Fengyang said politely. Subsequently, Fengyang and others got off the flying cube. This sculpture is so big. Caulifla looked up at the sculpture and sighed. This planet was originally called Belstar, and there were only women on it, but no men. Vados explained, but unfortunately, a huge meteorite hit the planet 100 years ago, causing all life on it to be destroyed. There is only a planet for women without men, so how do you have children? Caulifla asked curiously. See that pit over there? Vados pointed to a deep pit in the distance. Caulifla nodded. Fengyang also looked towards the big pit. The area of the big pit is not small, it is as vast as the sea. In the big pit, the bones of the dead are exposed in the wild, and there is no rooster crowing for thousands of miles. It is a very miserable situation. There was even more bloody smell in the air. There is a special kind of water in the big pit, called holy water, and the women here can continue their offspring after drinking this water. Vados replied, but that meteorite happened to hit this huge lake. The water in this lake is evaporated in an instant. That is to say, women on this planet can no longer have offspring, right? Caulifla understood. Yes, Vados nodded. What a big deal, just find a man to come over. Caulifla was not surprised. I think it's okay. It's a good choice for His Royal Highness to stay here to reproduce. Vados grinned. Are there any surviving humans on this planet? Feng Yang asked. Yes, but there are not many left. Only a few human beings have survived, and they will continue their descendants through the holy water stored in the past. But the amount of holy water is limited, and I'm afraid it won't last long. Vados shook his head. Moreover, humans on this planet have not yet advanced to the technological age, and there is no way to leave this planet. So, besides the death of the last human, is there no other way? Caulifla said with emotion. This kind of thing depends on how Master Supreme Kai handles it. Vados replied, Master Supreme Kai may transfer the surviving humans to a planet suitable for survival. Is this lake the only place where holy water can be born? Caulifla asked. It's not that this lake can be born, it's because the universe crystal nucleus fell in the center of this lake a long time ago, and the holy water was born. Vados explained, the fall of the meteorite caused cracks in the universe crystal nucleus, and it can no longer be born. Holy water. Why explain so much? Hurry up and practice. Feng Yang was getting a little impatient. It's my intention to explain so much, otherwise you will see something later. I don't even know how to answer your question. Vados sighed. See what? What can I ask? Feng Yang looked confused. Come with me, Vados said, leading the way. Feng Yang followed behind Vados. Sure enough, Feng Yang saw a scene that shocked him. I saw that Vados was leading himself towards the skirt of the sculpture. The gate of another dimension. Actually Feng Yang was shocked at the time. It wasn't just Feng Yang who was shocked. Caulifla was also extremely shocked. Kale lowered his head shyly. Ziyao blushed, her face was cold, and she exuded a cold breath. Maid. You are too much. Why is the door open here? Chunhua and Chushi also blushed and walked in through the narrow gate. It's really unique inside. Feng Yang sighed, and even touched it with his hand, it feels really real. Vados blushed and said nothing. I have explained so much just now. I knew you would be emotional. For a woman to reproduce, entering here means another world, so the position of the door is nothing strange. Vados couldn't help but say something. Very good. Feng Yang nodded in satisfaction, turned to look at Chunhua, and asked, have you brought your camera? Chunhua, Vados, can these girls here not know what Feng Yang wants to do? It's already here, so why don't you take a picture and remember it or something? Feng Yang greeted, hurry up, Chunhua, take out your camera. Yes, Your Highness. Chunhua nodded helplessly, and immediately took out the camera. Come on, let me take a picture first. Feng Yang said, took Chunhua's camera, found a suitable location for the view, and drew a circle on the ground. Okay, just stand here and take a picture. The location is just right. Yes, Chunhua nodded. Feng Yang stood up and made a pose. Crack. Chunhua pressed the shutter and took a photo of Feng Yang. Feng Yang leaned over to have a look. That's right, that's what it means. Feng Yang was very satisfied with the photo, and then greeted Vados and the others together. Come on, come here, let's take a photo together. Snapped. As Feng Yang said, he pointed his finger at the camera in the air, and the camera was just suspended in the air. Come here quickly, why are you in a daze? Feng Yang urged. Vados sighed helplessly and had no choice but to step forward. What crime did I do? I should come here first and get rid of this sculpture. Several girls stood beside Feng Yang. Come on, shout with me. Eggplant, Feng Yang said. Eggplant, Caulifla yelled. Kale also moved his mouth in embarrassment, but didn't shout out. Chunhua and Chushi blushed, looking like they were just about to bloom. Ziyao's face was cold. Vados looked calm. Only Feng Yang smiled happily. One photo is done. This place is great. Who is so talented to create such an entrance? Ah, well, this is a beautiful star, such an entrance is nothing to them. After all, there is no talk about men and women here. Going further in, the passage is a little narrow. The channel has a corrugated shape around it. Feng Yang clicked his tongue in amazement, sighed and commented all the way. Some of the girls like Vados blushed, some had dark faces, and some had cold faces. After walking forward for a while, a door similar to spirit and time-space appeared. This is it. Vados sighed. It's finally here. It feels like a long journey. Snapped. Vados stepped forward and opened the door. Feng Yang entered the gate with several girls. Vados also walked in, and closed the door behind him. After the gate is closed, we are temporarily isolated from the other world. Vados explained, the flow of time here is relatively slow, and the ratio of the time outside is about 1 year to 1 day. So we practice here for 1 year, it's only a day gone by outside. Feng Yang is not interested in these, he already knew the function of this different dimension space. Feng Yang is very interested in the layout of this room. Someone else must have been here before. The interior of the room is very feminine. It feels like entering a girl's boudoir to Feng Yang. After all, this is a beauty star. Girls used to come to this room. Therefore, the environment here is much better than the monotonous dormitory structure on the Earth. But the room is not big, similar to those on Earth. There are only 2 beds in the room. Go outside and have a look. Vados smiled. Ziyao, Khalifah and others walked outside. Feng Yang is not very interested in the outside world. Isn't it just a pure white world? What catches your eyes? Still think about how to sleep at night is more appropriate. 2 beds. I don't sleep very well. Feng Yang thought for a while, stepped forward and put the 2 beds together, turning it into a big bed. The 7 of us should be able to sleep if we squeeze together. Feng Yang looked at the big bed and meditated silently. Vados. Ahem, I don't need to sleep, Vados replied. You don't sleep at night, what are you going to do? Feng Yang replied. I don't need to sleep, Vados said. That's not okay, we are all asleep, and you are wandering in the room by yourself, it's scary. Feng Yang said. Vados wiped his sweat. Are you still afraid? You can even fight gods of destruction, what do you have to be afraid of? Sleep together when the time comes, I just like so many people crowded together, it's lively. Feng Yang chuckled. Vados wiped his sweat silently. Later, Feng Yang and Vados came outside and saw the endless white world. We are here to practice, let's start now. Vados said, by the way, how does His Royal Highness want to train them? Your Highness, will the 2 of us also participate in the training? Chunhua and Chushi hurriedly stepped forward to ask. I want it. Feng Yang nodded, and told Chushi, go and take out the training uniforms I prepared for everyone. Yes, Your Highness, Chushi replied, quickly found some clothes from the bag, and handed them to the girls present. Not even Vados was spared. Vados took the training suit and took a look, revealing the black lines on his face. What a strange training suit. Khalifah held the brand new training suit high and muttered thoughtfully. Where is this a training suit? This is clearly a swimsuit. Ziyao trembled with anger. Ah, did you take it wrong? Feng Yang scratched his head. Ziyao, actually, it's fine to wear a swimsuit, anyway, there are no outsiders here. Feng Yang replied, after all, wearing this swimsuit allows you to move your body better, and some of the movements I'm going to do next are very complicated, you guys those clothes on your body will affect your actions. Chunhua, Chu Shi, you are so right. We don't know how to pick it up. Do I need it too? Vados wiped his sweat. Need. Feng Yang nodded, look how bulky you are wearing, this suit is more suitable. I'm not in training, so I don't need the suit. Vados immediately put the suit down. Then, you all quickly change into your clothes and get ready to practice, Feng Yang urged. Ziyao and the others wiped away their sweat silently. Only Khalifah is more casual, but she looks indifferent. Isn't it just wearing a swimsuit? No big deal. Hey, do you want to change here? Ziyao asked quickly. You're right. Khalifah was taken aback, scratched her head and looked at Feng Yang, then immediately ran to the room to change clothes. Feng Yang gave Ziyao a hard look. If you don't change your clothes, you are still there and don't let others change their clothes. This wife is not obedient at all. I will put you in the cold palace in the future, and let you know the consequences of offending me. Soon, Khalifah came out in a swimsuit. I'm ready. Khalifah grinned. Feng Yang looked over silently. Sure enough, the Khalifah here is much prettier than in comics and TV. Impeccable in stature and appearance. Especially wearing this swimsuit is even more cute. Cal, what are you still doing in a daze? Hurry up and change your clothes. Khalifah ordered to Kale. Sister, do I want to change too? Kair was stunned and asked a little embarrassed. Of course, didn't you come to practice? I feel that it's really convenient to move around after changing into this outfit. Khalifa smiled, and moved her body deliberately. Okay, I'll change. Kale bit his lip and ran to the room to change. Chunhua and Chushi also entered the room blushing. Soon, the three girls changed their clothes and came out from inside. Feng Yang looked at this and then that, drooling all over the floor. Hey, Your Royal Highness, are you here to cultivate or choose a concubine? Vados covered his forehead, not knowing what to say to him. Ziyao hesitated for a long time, but in the end she didn't change her clothes. Or my princess clothes are more suitable. Naturally, Vados will not change, she still wears her angel outfit. Now we are about to start practicing. Feng Yang greeted several girls. Ziyao and other girls nodded solemnly together. First of all, the first thing you have to do is to become a Super Saiyan. Feng Yang ordered. What, Super Saiyan? Is it the transformation of His Majesty the King? Khalifa asked quickly after being taken aback. Not bad. Feng Yang nodded. But, isn't Super Saiyan stronger than your senior Saiyan? Khalifa scratched her head and asked a little strangely, didn't you lose to His Majesty the King? Ziyao kept rolling her eyes from the side. Can't you understand? But I always feel that something is wrong. I don't think you may lose to the king. Khalifa added. That's not important anymore. Feng Yang smiled. Now let me explain to you the secrets of Super Saiyan's transformation. The key to Super Saiyan's transformation. Ziyao was slightly taken aback by the side. Is there any other secret to this transformation? Yes. Feng Yang nodded. In fact, the transformation of Super Saiyan is very simple, especially for you, it is like Ziyao. Now under my guidance, you can immediately transform into Super Saiyan. Me, is it possible? Ziyao was a little surprised, and still a little bit unbelieving. Can I become Super Saiyan right now? Are you mentally prepared now? Feng Yang asked. Ziyao nodded lightly, showing a look of anticipation. Vados also looked over curiously. That Super Saiyan transformation was truly amazing. Although not as good as Feng Yang's Gods of Destruction form, it will also greatly improve their strength. Does Feng Yang know how to become like that? Khalifa and Kair also stared at Ziyao without blinking. Chunhua and Chushi also had some small expectations. If Princess Ziyao can become Super Saiyan, I wonder if the two of us can become like this. Okay, I'm going to start. Feng Yang's expression became serious. Yeah, Ziyao nodded lightly, and couldn't help asking, what do I need to do? Don't do anything, calm your mind and relax your body. Feng Yang said, yes, that's it, don't move. Don't move. Ziyao didn't move. Feng Yang waved his big hand across the air, and the invisible divine power in his hand quickly covered Ziyao's body. Snapped. Ziyao's clothes were broken on the spot. In just a moment, Ziyao was left with only a set of underwear, which outlined her body curves into a beautiful picture scroll. Ziyao was dumbfounded. Chunhua and Chushi's complexions immediately turned rosy. Vados wiped his sweat silently. Where are you making people into Super Saiyan? You told him not to move, and then directly shattered his clothes. Sure enough, His Royal Highness is a narrow-minded person. Didn't she just not change her training clothes? What are you doing? Except for Princess Ziyao, I seem to be the only one who hasn't changed into training clothes. The prince won't shatter my clothes in a moment, will he? But it's okay. I am an angel's divine costume, how could I be shattered so easily? Vados breathed a sigh of relief. Can I become a Super Saiyan by smashing the clothes? Khalifa showed a confused face. Sister, but we have already changed into training clothes. Kale added from the side. Feng Yang and the others immediately turned their heads to look at Khalifa and Kale, each more speechless than the other. Not bad, good looking. Feng Yang swallowed a mouthful of saliva, looked at Ziyao and nodded happily. Ziyao was ashamed at the time. Ziyao was shy at first, and then aggrieved. Can you not be wrong? It was agreed that I would be the only princess here. But this prince is too bothered. So many spare concubines were found so quickly. And the queen mother also agreed to let him accept a few more concubines. This scumbag. After Ziyao was wronged, the anger in her heart also gradually burst out. You, Feng Yang, I hate you, Ziyao shouted angrily. Boom. The next moment, Ziyao's body burst out with extremely powerful energy, and the endless breath spread around Ziyao as the center. Snapped. Ziyao's hair stood up high and turned golden yellow. Super Saiyan, transform. Feng Yang, you scumbag, I can't spare you. Ziyao was furious, turned into a golden light, and roared towards Feng Yang's direction. Ziyao punched and kicked Feng Yang. Feng Yang easily blocked all of Ziyao's attacks in a normal manner. Immediately afterwards, Feng Yang soared into the sky and flew high above the sky. Call out. Ziyao pursued closely. The golden light illuminated the entire white sky, dyeing the sky golden. Boom. Ziyao passed with an uppercut. Snapped. Feng Yang lightly raised his hand, and used his own hand to catch Ziyao's attacking powder fist. That's right, that's how it looks. Feng Yang nodded with a smile. Hey, Ziyao was taken aback for a moment, but also suddenly felt the changes in her body. She immediately retracted her fists, and looked down at the golden light on her body. This is Super Saiyan transformation. Feng Yang said with a smile. Being Super Saiyan for the first time, you must first experience the feeling of this transformation, and then you can transform as you like. I have become a Super Saiyan. Ziyao was stunned. Becoming a Super Saiyan, the main opportunity is to have huge emotional fluctuations, such as anger is the best motivation. Feng Yang explained. You smashed my clothes to arouse my anger, to become a Super Saiyan. Ziyao finally understood the cause and effect of the matter. But Ziyao, isn't it inappropriate for you to call me a scumbag? Feng Yang's face turned cold, and he narrowed his eyes to look at Ziyao. Ziyao immediately came back to her senses, but she was a little stubborn and didn't mean to admit her mistake. You don't need to practice anymore, just stay and go. Feng Yang said, and waved his hand again in the air, and powerful energy covered Ziyao's body. Boom. Ziyao flew upside down and almost fell to the ground. Ziyao was completely stunned. I'm all Super Saiyan now. Can I even defeat the normal state of His Royal Highness? You give me a good reflection over there, and if you dare to insult me as a scumbag in the future, I will put you in limbo. Feng Yang shouted angrily. Am I a scumbag? I'm not a scumbag. How is a scumbag defined? Scumbag usually refers to men who do not take the relationship between the opposite gender seriously and play with each other's feelings. Am I playing with your feelings? I just want to have more wives, am I wrong? I have time traveled into a prince. I want more wives, what's wrong? As a prince, you still make me monogamous. Ziyao pouted, her mouth could hold an oil bottle, she was extremely wronged, she held back her tears, which swirled in her eyes. Seeing Ziyao's expression, Feng Yang even softened his heart a little. Feng Yang hates girls crying the most, especially crying in front of his face. However, Feng Yang will rule all kinds of dissatisfaction. Didn't you say I'm a scumbag? I just pretended not to see it. Chunhua Chushi, take her away. Feng Yang ordered to Chunhua Chushi. Yes, Your Highness. Chunhua Chushi nodded honestly. His Royal Highness has a temper. He got angry when he said he was a scumbag. Let's be honest. Shua. The two quickly appeared beside Ziyao. Princess, let's go over there first, everyone calm down. Chunhua persuaded. Yes, His Highness is angry, and it will be better when His Highness's anger subsides. Chu Shi also persuaded. Ziyao didn't speak, but bit her lower lip tightly, but physically agreed. Ziyao obediently followed Chunhua and Chu Shi to the side, facing the wall and thinking about it. So you can become a Super Saiyan just by being angry. Is it that simple? Caulifla turned a blind eye to what happened just now, and lowered her head in thought for a moment. Snapped. Caulifla suddenly burst out with extremely powerful energy. Caulifla's hair stood up high, golden flames bloomed all over her body, and she had already turned into a Super Saiyan. Great, I succeeded. Caulifla cheered excitedly. Sister is great. Kale felt happy for her sister. I feel that my strength has been greatly improved. Caulifla felt her body in surprise. That's right, that's it. Feng Yang nodded and asked, didn't you guys get extremely angry before? No, I usually think about happy things, why are you angry? Caulifla shook her head. Vados meditated silently. The training of His Royal Highness is fine. In less than half an hour, there are already 2 people who can become Super Saiyan. Come on, try to attack me with all your strength. Feng Yang waved at Caulifla. Okay, then I'm going to attack. Caulifla nodded, ready to fight immediately. Call out. Caulifla turned into a golden light and launched a fierce attack towards Feng Yang. Feng Yang easily resisted all of Caulifla's attacking fists and feet just by using his normal state. Ziyao was stunned from a distance. This Caulifla is really not easy. Just one click. It's so easy to become a Super Saiyan. And also, can His Royal Highness catch the fists and kicks of me and Caulifla after transforming without transforming? How strong is His Highness the Prince? I feel that after becoming a Super Saiyan, my strength has increased by at least 50 times. The shock in Ziyao's heart cannot be described in words. At this moment, Ziyao's strong cognition of Feng Yang went up to several levels. Above the sky, Feng Yang and Caulifla fought for a moment. Snapped. Feng Yang raised his hand to catch Caulifla's attacking fist. Very well, that's how it feels. Feng Yang nodded in satisfaction. Let's call it a day. Okay, Caulifla responded. The two fell from the sky and landed on the pale earth. Cal, it's your turn. Caulifla said to Kale, after becoming a Super Saiyan, I feel very excited, and I feel that my strength has been greatly improved. Can I do it? Kale was a little embarrassed. What's wrong? You're a Saiyan too, of course you can become a Super Saiyan too. Caulifla replied. I'll try. Kale nodded, trying to transform himself through emotions. After a minute, hoo. Kale gasped heavily, knelt down on the ground, sweat slipped from his face. No, sister, my talent is too bad to be a Super Saiyan. Kale shook his head. Cal, you were trying your best just now, you didn't look angry. Caulifla said. Kyle was taken aback. Being transformed into Super Saiyan requires anger, Caulifla explained. But, no matter what, I can't get angry. Kale shook his head lightly. What annoys you the most? Caulifla dragged her chin and muttered, you can imagine someone stealing all your dim sum, and that's why I became Super Saiyan. Feng Yang, this one-celled girl, that's how it became Super Saiyan. Kale tried to imagine his snack being stolen. No, sister, I still can't get angry. Kale shook his head. You can imagine your sister being killed. Feng Yang suggested from the side. Well, you can try. Caulifla nodded. Okay, I'll give it a try. Kale replied, closed his eyes, and began to imagine the scene of Caulifla being killed by someone else. The next moment, Kale suddenly opened his eyes. I fantasize about who will kill my sister. Kale asked. Feng Yang, this silly girl, her. Caulifla quietly pointed to Ziyao in the distance. Well, good. Kale nodded, and began to imagine the tragic scene of Caulifla being beaten to death by Ziyao's punch after punch in his mind. Snapped. Kale's body suddenly emitted powerful energy. The vast aura centered on Kale and spread wildly around. It's so powerful. Caulifla was stunned. Oh, this Saiyan is not simple. Vados was slightly taken aback. Snapped. However, after part of the chi on Kale's body exploded, it dissipated immediately. Kyle opened his eyes. Transformation failed. What's going on? Why did the transformation fail? Caulifla was stunned. Sister, it seems that I still can't do it. Kale said shyly. Cal, what are you talking about? Just now I could sense that your aura is very powerful, surpassing that of my sister. Caulifla felt happy for Kale. No, my sister is the most powerful. I can't be stronger than my sister. Kale shook his head gently. Next, Caulifla, you should be familiar with the transformation of Super Saiyan, to the extent that you can transform into Super Saiyan as you like. Feng Yang ignored Kale and told Caulifla, then, make yourself stable in the transformation of Super Saiyan, except for sleeping, usually maintain the transformation of Super Saiyan, and then continue to improve your strength, understand? Understood. Caulifla nodded briskly, then asked Feng Yang, what about you? Me, I plan to have a good discussion with my maid. Feng Yang turned his head and glanced at Vados. Vados was slightly taken aback. You want to learn from me? Did you make a mistake? Vados is more easygoing. It should be said that angels are more accommodating. Now that Feng Yang has already made a request, Vados will naturally not object. Of course Vados also has absolute self-confidence. Do you really think that if you can defeat Lord Champa, you can defeat me? I am Angel. Vados, what do you mean? Feng Yang looked at Vados with a smile. Okay, Vados nodded, let's go to a farther place to compete. If we fight here, the exit may be destroyed by accident, and it will be troublesome to go out. Well, You pick a place. Feng Yang nodded. Follow me, Vados said, already flew up, and flew towards the distance quickly. Feng Yang followed closely behind. Take me too, Caulifla called from behind. You don't want to come, this is not a battle you can watch. Feng Yang greeted. Caulifla was about to catch up, but stopped immediately after hearing Feng Yang's words. Caulifla revealed a strange expression on her face. It's the same as saying how fierce your battle will be. Is that maid so powerful? Vados wiped his sweat silently. Suddenly there is a bad feeling. Can't go any further. Right here, I still don't know what this kid wants to do. Snapped. Vados fell from the sky and landed on the white ground. Feng Yang followed behind Vados. Can we start? Feng Yang grinned and asked with some expectation. Wait a minute, your destructive energy is too strong. If you explode with all your strength, this space may not be able to sustain it. Vados explained. Then how do we fight? Feng Yang was taken aback. Don't worry, I'll give this space a simple reinforcement, so that it will be more convenient for the two of us to compete. Vados smiled slightly. As he said this, the crystal ball on top of the scepter in Vados' hand was aimed at the sky. Call out. A hemispherical shield opened instantly. The shield has a diameter of at least 100 meters. Okay, with this shield, you can release your energy boldly. Vados smiled. I know that when you were fighting Lord Champa, you have been deliberately suppressing your energy. Do that you also don't want your Shadara planet to suffer a devastating blow, right? Your observation is really careful. Feng Yang nodded. It really surprised me that you were able to defeat Lord Champa while suppressing your own energy. Vados smiled. Yeah, Feng Yang grinned, thank you for the compliment. We can begin, Vados said, throwing the scepter aside. Snapped. Just like that, the scepter was inserted into the ground. Vados immediately braced himself for battle. Come on, Vados smiled. Okay, I'm here, Feng Yang said. Purple-red energy surged from his body, and he activated the self-extreme form. Call out. Feng Yang flew towards Vados at high speed. Immediately afterwards, Feng Yang didn't show any politeness, he quickly opened his big hand, and grabbed Vados. Vados turned sideways slightly, dodging Feng Yang's attack. Snapped. Vados grabbed Feng Yang's arm, a gorgeous back fall. However, Feng Yang also reacted very quickly. At the moment when he was about to fall, he immediately used his right foot to support the ground hard. Vados froze and didn't fall. Hey, Feng Yang took advantage of the opportunity and pinched Vados' waist. Vados. Boom. Vados was sullen and hit Feng Yang with an elbow. Feng Yang's body quickly slid backwards. Call out. However, after Feng Yang slid backwards for a certain distance, he immediately disappeared in a flash. Vados looked calm. The next moment, Vados leaned to the side, dodging Feng Yang's attacking fist. Hey. Feng Yang's fist speeded up the attack speed towards Vados, and the fists greeted Vados like raindrops. But Vados dodges easily. Angel will be very comfortable. It should be said that Angel is born with a free and extreme form. Strange, why can't you hit? Feng Yang stopped attacking, looked at Vados curiously and asked, do you have eyes behind you? Hey, this is called freedom. To put it simply, it is the ability of all parts of my body to respond automatically. Vados smiled. All parts of the body have the ability to respond automatically. Feng Yang thought wrongly at that time. Some places have the ability to automatically respond. Isn't it interesting? Vados clutches his forehead. What are you thinking again? Vados was speechless. It's nothing. Feng Yang shook his head lightly. You're drooling. Vados wiped his sweat. Ah, really? Feng Yang quickly wiped the saliva from the corner of his mouth. Since you are not serious about fighting, then I have to be more serious. Vados said seriously. Shua. After finishing speaking, Vados quickly rushed towards Feng Yang. Vados' figure kept changing in the air, leaving behind phantoms. Stop. Feng Yang immediately stretched his hands forward and said to Vados. Snapped. Vados pauses for a moment. Is there something wrong? Vados asked. What you said about ZZGE just now. I think it's quite interesting, please explain it carefully. Feng Yang smiled. Let me tell you this. Different from the previous fighting method of sensing qi, ZZG relies on various parts of the body to perform conditioned reflex movements, without thinking about the brain, to maximize the speed of movement and reaction ability. Vedos explain again, that is to say, the ultimate meaning of freedom is the separation of the body and the consciousness, so that all parts of the body can surpass the instinct to perceive the danger around, and no longer need the brain to think before acting. So that's the case, it sounds quite powerful. Feng Yang nodded. Just like now, even if I close my eyes, you may not be able to hit me with all your strength. Vedos smiled confidently. Really? Feng Yang was a little excited and expectant. Yes, Vedos nodded. With that, Vedos closed his eyes. Come on, try it, even if you become the one who releases purple lightning all over your body. Vedos smiled. Then I won't be polite. Feng Yang grinned, showing a mouthful of white teeth. Boom. Feng Yang's body suddenly burst out with more and more powerful divine power. The endless divine power is like a big explosion of the sun, with a crazy momentum. Chila, Chila. More purple lightning flashed from Feng Yang's body. When I looked again, Feng Yang's hair was slowly growing back. Catch, catch. The shield released by Vedos made a crisp sound, and cracks appeared one after another. What? Vedos was stunned, opened his eyes immediately, and looked up at the protective shield in the sky. How did the shield break? Why is this kid so powerful? Immediately afterwards, Vedos immediately turned to look at Feng Yang. However, after Vedos looked at it, he suddenly found that Feng Yang had disappeared. The next moment, Vedos also immediately felt the tremendous divine power coming from behind him. Vedos dodged to the side reflexively. Slap. Feng Yang, on the other hand, was a hungry tiger and jumped on Vedos, forcefully throwing her to the ground. Snapped. The moment Feng Yang pounced on Vedos, his purple-red energy dissipated a lot. The two fell to the ground together. Feng Yang was using Vedos as a pad, feeling quite comfortable. Vedos was stunned. Just now I didn't escape my free mind. How is this going? Hey, how's it going? Did I win? Feng Yang smiled and looked down at Vedos. Vedos, this action is a bit ambiguous. Calm down. Vado's face darkened. No, Feng Yang said. Vedos wiped his sweat. Can't your body dodge it on its own? It seems that there is nothing special about that freedom. Feng Yang said with a smile. You come down first. Vado's face darkened again, and he rolled his eyes. Let's swing the oars. Feng Yang sang. Vedos. What a mess. What the hell is going on in your head? Snapped. Vedos immediately turned over and quickly pinned Feng Yang underneath. Feng Yang looked at Vedos thoughtfully. So you like this? Feng Yang suddenly realized. Vado's face turned green. What do you mean I like this? How could such a good battle make you describe it so unbearably? Vedos immediately got off Feng Yang's body and patted the dust off his body. Snapped. Vedos stretched out his hand towards the distant scepter. Call out. The scepter quickly fell into Vado's hands. Call out. Vedos turned into a flame as bright as a star, and disappeared without a trace without taking Feng Yang's attention. Hey, where are you going? Let's talk about $2 more. Feng Yang shouted. Vedos, who had already flown away, almost fell from the sky after hearing Feng Yang's words. Who wants to talk to you for another $2? You said you wanted to compete with me, but what did you do? How shameless. But then again, the moment I closed my eyes, the destructive energy in this kid surged wildly, and it was greatly improved. And the multiplier of improvement is too much. What is the problem? How could his destructive energy be so powerful? Vedos suddenly thought of Champa again. It seems that Mr. Champa has another trick. When I was about to leave, I felt bad in Lord Champa's eyes. Master Champa is not going to send rescuers, is he? When Vedos thinks about it carefully, there is really such a possibility. If that's the case, Vedos thinks. If Feng Yang's gods of destruction is so powerful, even if Master Champa brought in reinforcements, he might not necessarily be Feng Yang's opponent. It can only be self-defeating. Master Champa, it is better for you to quickly repair Feng Yang's palace. Vedos let out a helpless sigh. Huh, maid, you're back, where is Feng Yang? Caulifla asked. Boom. Vedos was somewhat annoyed. Hearing that Caulifla also called him a maid, he felt a little unhappy, and knocked over with a scepter. This scepter passed and hit Caulifla on the head at that time. A large lump immediately swelled up on Caulifla's head. It hurts, it hurts. What are you doing? Khalifah shouted. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.